Hello. City Commission meeting, January 13th, and it's 5:30, so we'll get started. Please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Keep us, O God, from pettiness. Let us be large in thought, in word, and deed. Let us be done with fault-finding and leave off self-seeking. May we put away all pretense and meet each other face to face without self-pity and without prejudice. May we never be hasty in judgment and always generous. Let us take time for all things. Make us to grow calm, serene, and gentle. Teach us to put into action our better impulses, straightforward and unafraid. Grant that we may realize it is the little things that create differences, that in the big things of life we are at one. And may we strive to touch and to know the great human heart of us all. And God, I ask you to please be with the folks of Puerto Rico and Australia who are at this time going through life and death decisions. In God's name I pray. Thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Chief.
So we're glad to see everyone out here tonight. We are over capacity, but what we can do, myself and the deputy chief will be crowd managers. I have to announce that there is a stairway on the far end of the hallway for exiting in case we have to evacuate, and there's a stairway on this end. I also have an off-duty battalion chief. He's in plain clothes, but we will be the crowd managers for this event. All right?
Event? What was a meeting?
Thank you, Chief. We have no proclamations tonight. We have no presentations. Public comments have now been moved to the front of the meeting. So if there are any public comments, please limit it to 3 minutes, and you'll have to come up to the podium and give your name and whatever you have to say. Also, the item which I know most of you are here for is the last item on the agenda, and we will have time at that point to also discuss any issues. Some things have changed, so I just request that you wait until that item is heard, and then we can go from there. Okay? Is there anything else, public comment, that you wish to discuss? Anybody? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. Pull the item from the consent agenda, vote on the remaining items with one roll call vote, and discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items you wish to pull tonight?
I have one, Mayor, but I'm trying to, I don't know where I wrote it down. That it's the one, Al, it's the one for the spray that was on consent.
Yeah, I'm fighting with my computer here. Can you see what
Is it about
Yeah, I know which one you want. You want
spraying the waters and stuff?
The aquatic
number 10.
vegetation
Aquatic
man?
Is that the one?
10.
Yeah, 10.
510.
Which one?
Number 10.
5B10.
So I'd like to pull B10.
Okay, 5B10.
I want to pull C7.
C7? Okay. Is that it? Can I have a,
Move for approval?
thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Would somebody like to introduce 5B10?
I'll introduce, it has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute an agreement with Florida Waterways, Inc. for aquatic vegetation management services on a monthly basis for an annual amount of $26,943 and providing an effective date.
We have a
Move for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Is Clay Bell here? I don't know where he'd be.
He's trying to work his way through.
So the reason I pulled this was I was looking. Obviously, we know that his company's been doing work for us for years and years, and they've been doing a lot of major projects even. But he was the second lowest on this bid, and he was outdone, which falls beyond the local preference. The only reason I pulled it and wanted to address it was one of the things on the bid that was a little, I guess, misunderstanding or leading from what my understanding is his spray chemicals are much less when you look at the bid. And when they do side jobs, we call them up and ask them to spray a pond or a weed area, whatever. They just do that and it's incorporated in, opposed to the other one charges per spray. So I know it's on the contract itself it's more, but I wanted to make a motion to go with the second bid instead. Mr. Bell, you want to say anything? You know more about spraying than I do.
No, that was kind of what I was going to go over
Excuse me,
with.
for the
once
privilege,
you're-
Madam Mayor, we got a motion. We didn't
Oh.
need a second on that.
Exactly.
Sorry.
You move for approval, there was a second.
No, there wasn't no second.
Yes, there was.
Yes, there was.
Yeah,
I
Mr.
second
Roden.
it.
Yeah.
On the amendment?
No, we
Not
haven't done the
amendment
amendment yet.
We're not doing that. I just
Oh,
want
I
to see
thought
if
you
he
made a
wanted to
motion to
talk.
accept the second bid.
I'm going to make that motion, but I was asking him if he wanted to talk and explain what I'm trying to explain in broken spray English.
Kind of like Commissioner Hurley said, if you look down on the second part of the bid on, unit prices on the chemical, you can see I'm the lowest across the board on all, I think, 8 contractors. And I think maybe you could maybe answer this better, but I believe when you have to go spray different areas, that's when it comes into the chemical cost, if I'm correct, on the bid.
Mike Thornton, purchasing manager. For this bid, the basis of award was on the service locations only, not the additional chemicals or the per hour cost for harvesting. So it's basically a total of the maintenance locations. So the cost of individual chemicals was not a part of the award because we may not use them. They're just there so that if we do need additional work done somewhere else and then they're giving us a quote, then at least we have something to go by on what the actual cost might be.
Thank you, Mr. Thornton. Do you still want to make that amendment?
How long have you been doing the Leesburg stuff?
I have not done any of the spray maintenance. I've been doing like the removes, like Lake Lorraine.
Right.
We got the bigger equipment. Well, we've been at spraying, but this is the first time this came up, so we were trying to come after it. And the reason I was asking that to Mike is because there are some DOT ponds, I believe, airport pond that we spray on occasion. That's why I thought that was coming into play, because y'all were out spraying more than just the ponds that was located on this thing. That's why I was asking.
There are some occasions where additional work would be needed that wouldn't fall under the predefined maintenance locations. And I think Public Works has called PWC in to do some of that work in the past.
Numerous times, and that's why I was just wondering, because I know that there was other DOT ponds that they do on a scheduling. Your old contractor does for y'all. I believe that wasn't on here. On these ponds,
In the
like
new one, I believe
the
we have
DOT
all the
ponds.
DOT ponds.
Did you respond to the proposal, bid for proposal?
Yes,
Okay, now you should have had time to discuss that with our purchasing department, is that correct?
absolutely.
This is not the place to discuss that.
Okay. Well, once again, I'm just here to ask, to oversee that. We lost by 6,000, and I was just here to say I would love to get
If
the
you'd
work.
like,
and
if you'd like to
be in-
discuss these issues with Mr. Thornton, fine, but we can't, if, once it's been awarded, that's it,
I understand.
okay?
So,
So please, discuss with him what might be done with additional work and whatnot, okay?
okay.
Thank you. As such,
Well, I would like to still make the motion.
go ahead.
To allow PWC to have the work. It's a local company, employees, they spend their money within our city, so for me, that is a motion that I would like to make at this time.
Second.
Okay. We'll vote on the,
Well, I just had a question on the legality of
Yeah.
that. Once we put a bid out, I mean, do we want to set a precedent where we come in and just say we got the local preference already included for local bidders, so then we come as a commission, even though everybody had a chance to bid, we got local preference, and then we say we're going to go to second bid. So Fred legally can't, I mean,
In my opinion, unless you can point to a defect in the first bid or some problem with that bidder providing bad service elsewhere or something, the low bidder gets the deal. And you'd be opening yourself up to a bid challenge if you award it to the second bidder because of that. And I don't think the differential in chemical costs that may never be used is sufficient to support that.
So then I would like to make a new motion to take the first motion out.
I'll also second that.
thank you.
Well, we don't want to pay Fred anymore.
So, sorry,
I understand. Thank y'all very much.
Thank
anyway.
you. That was making me feel too uneasy.
no, I don't want us to get in trouble.
Yeah. Roll call on the original motion.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Okay, the next which has been pulled is C7. Would somebody like to introduce, please?
I'll introduce, has to be read by Tyrone.
Excuse me. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, allowing the Friends of the Library, Leesburg Library, Inc., an exemption from Section 5-6(a) of the Leesburg, Florida Code of Ordinances to allow the serving of alcohol beverages at a ticketed event at the library on March 20th, 2020, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Well, I pulled this for obvious reason. I don't think we should be serving alcohol at the city library, so that's my objection.
Anybody else?
Has anybody ever had an alcoholic beverage at the library?
Not that I know of, but
I understand and respect John's comments. It is wine only, just for the record.
I'm sure y'all understand my other job that I probably wouldn't endorse.
That's what
alcohol.
qualified my comment.
Can you read a lot if you've had a lot of wine?
well, this is during an event. This isn't normal.
This is just a one-time
Picture
fundraiser.
books.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley?
No.
Sorry.
No.
Commissioner Christian?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
No. Okay, public hearings and non-routine items. See, the wait isn't as long as you thought it was going to be. Okay. 6A, second reading of an ordinance amending the City of Leesburg Code of Ordinances. Somebody like to introduce, please?
I introduce and recommend to be read by title only, Madam Mayor.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, amending Chapter 7 and Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to buildings and building regulations, to repeal outdated building codes, to adopt updated versions of the Florida Building Code, Electrical Code, Fire Prevention Code, and Property Maintenance Code, providing a method of enforcement and cost recovery, and for appeals of decisions made by the building official, setting forth a permitting process, specifying details for building permits, building inspections, and certificates of occupancy, creating a general permit category for small projects, granting the building official rights to enter and inspect, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. 6B, discussion item, Sable Trails. Who wants to lead this discussion item?
Yes, this is the situation where the city incurred additional cost in constructing the gate station because the engineers retained to do the design didn't take into account a change in the size of a concrete pad, and it had to be re-poured as a result of that. Their contract limits recovery, I think that's in the agenda memo, and I don't recall the actual numbers, but the city would recover about $6,000 plus some money that's still owed that hasn't been paid yet. What we're really after is the initial money that was paid to the engineer before this came up. Money has been withheld, so that's continuing to be withheld. I wrote him an initial demand, and they responded after an extended delay with some excuses that didn't really cut the mustard, mostly relying on the fact that the change was shown in some other plan besides what the contractor would ever look at to build the pad. And then with some excuses about work that they had done extra that they didn't charge for and that sort of thing. And I wrote them another letter that says that's not sufficient, you need to send us the money, and I haven't heard back from them. It's been probably 3 weeks now. So they've got their head in the sand, and they're not going to do anything until they get prodded.
More than a discussion, what are you looking for tonight?
Approval to file a lawsuit to collect what's owed.
Okay. Would somebody like a motion to agree to a lawsuit?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
And Fred, the lawsuit's gonna recoup the $65.23?
Yes, and get a decision from the court that we don't owe any more money on that contract.
I think we owe up to about 30 grand on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So legal fees, how much you think that will cost us to?
Legal fees are recoverable under the contract, so
Okay.
that would be on top of the $6,000.
And
Any other discussion?
I would just say that we need to make sure we take them off the bid list in the future. They've been working for us.
Absolutely.
They held themselves out in their bid and their website as an expert in designing these kinds of things, but they should have been able to handle it.
I'm glad that we're finally going after some of the people that have made mistakes and left the city hanging. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, Jack actually has an email, and I have a copy of it, where the guy admitted at one point that he had not done that, and he rushed
Right.
back to get it done.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Just please keep us up to date on what's happening with that.
Yes.
And I would like to see this happen more, but thank you. Al knows. Okay, here we go. 6C, would somebody like to introduce?
I'll introduce S. Be read by Todd Loman, please.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a land purchase contract with First Pentecostal Church of Leesburg and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion, please.
Did you say we're doing our discussion, or you're hearing from the public first before we start? Huh?
No, I think we can lay out some information and
Okay.
hopefully, avoid some of the questions that have already been handled.
How about I tee this up for you?
You
then?
go.
All right. I'm going to say fiscal year 18 or 19, the city allocated $1.5 million to construct and research building a teen center. My opinion, and following the discussion of that allocation, I think that allocation got in the budget, and I also think there are 5 different opinions on how to move forward with that allocation. But we endeavored to do the project anyway. I think everybody thought that investing in the youth of the community's youth was important. So with that, we also knew that we probably needed to be somewhere in around a $2.5 to $3 million window to construct a teen center. And so we were able to acquire a CDBG grant in the amount of about $125,000. And we also toyed with different partnerships in one form or another, basically with the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter. To some discussion and disagreement, ultimately agreeing to put the Boys and Girls Club in the Knights of Columbus building. As we did that, I had staff move forward on the teen center concept, all the while knowing that I thought that the issue would be discussed in detail at a time where the juncture came to spend the $1.5 million. The trigger for that through the process is twofold. The first step being when we hire design professionals, and then the second step being when a construction contract is executed. So we endeavored to look for locations where we would build the teen center. That ran into some hurdles for different reasons, location, CDBG target area, what have you. But ultimately, we moved forward with securing an RFQ, request for qualifications, to get a design professional. That process was wrapped up, or starting to be wrapped up, about mid-December. I commissioned a city committee to review the requests and to rank them, and then, as you know, that recommendation is brought to this body to select a design professional. As I was moving into the process of bringing that RFQ before the commission, two things occurred. One, we got into the CDBG issues of what was and where were we going to build, which CDBG wanted an answer for by the end of January. And two, Commissioner Hurley called me and asked me to consider the concept of purchasing the Faith World Church. I investigated that from the input that I deciphered from the commission, because we had an array of opinion. My opinion was that if we can achieve the goal of creating a teen center with a partnership and save a city allocation, then that was a win, and that was a worthy investment, or investment to seek an alternate to the plan, which was purchase of property versus construct a property. I think it's A, financially driven, and B, it meets the goals. So with that, I did go out and looked at the Faith World Church. I had my staff look at the Faith World Church. I think generally we all think it's a good idea. I also know that Commissioner Hurley,
Please, you'll all have a chance.
we being staff, okay, please hear my words. That doesn't recognize your opinion. We will hear your opinion and appreciate the differences that are there. Okay, so we'll hear that in a second. But from a staff level, I think, and I said generally, we agreed, with some variation. But the concept there was, if we partner with Boys and Girls Club, if we can still receive the grant award, the city then can save significant funds, which then can be spent elsewhere. So we pursued that opportunity. We went out, we reviewed it. Commissioner Hurley invited the Boys and Girls Club of Lake and Sumter to go out there. I met with Gary Kane, the CEO, General Manager of Boys and Girls Club, on 2 occasions, spoke with Mac Reed, had some logistic issues with the KOC to this building, but generally the philosophy there was, the feedback that we got from Boys and Girls Club was positive. They would also provide a contribution to the level of potentially $500,000 mixed with the CDBG money, puts us at a funding level of about 1.4, and then the city would need to square this away with CDBG. To square this away with CDBG, a couple of things had to be done.
Excuse me, could you explain what CBD?
CDBG is Community Development Block Grant. Community Development Block Grant is grant money that comes from HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Essentially, it's federal money that falls to the state, that falls to the county, that then gets distributed locally. And so CDBG had a number of things that we needed to do. One was to redo the budget narrative that modified the grant from a construction grant to an acquisition grant. That also entailed potentially, while we wouldn't have to spend $1.5 million, I think the budget narrative will want to ensure that we will support $1.5 million. So that's a little touchy. In essence, what I think that means is we won't have to spend $1.5 million, but we would have to be on standby to provide that support should partnerships not work out, and the city will be held responsible for ensuring that there is, the CDBG calls it a teen enrichment center. So if the plan works, then we're free and clear of that. If the plan doesn't work, we would probably need to support it financially. So there is a bit of risk there, but I think it's a minimal risk. So budget narrative change, they wanted a resolution from the commission showing a purchase So if you approve the resolution tonight, that's that. They wanted a legal opinion on conflict of interest because Commissioner Hurley is a member of the church and his dad is the pastor. Fred wrote that. And I think there was one other point of CDBG discussion. But to wrap this summary up, I presented the commission and recommend the purchase of Faith World Church. That was the 2 appraisals was the fourth point. So the city did an appraisal, hired Todd Barfield to do that. He appraised the facility at $1 million. Faith World Church, I'm not sure the appraiser that they hired, but it was an Ocala appraiser. He valued the church at $1,020,000. The contract called for splitting the appraisals in the middle, so you got an amended contract for $1,010,000. And the city has 3 contingencies, which was commission approval, CDBG approval, construction approval. And the church had a contingency of using the facility a couple weeks after closing. I think closing was scheduled March 2nd, 5th, something like that, to allow us to do some due diligence. Again, I do, this is, I think, a changing course, but I think it's a reasonable one. I think it accomplishes the goals that we set out to do, and I think it keeps capital improvement monies in the city so that we can focus and accomplish other projects.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to open this up for discussion, so please keep it to 3 minutes. Come up to the podium so that we can get your voice on camera, because this is being filmed, and it would make that a lot simpler.
My name is Wendell Perry. I'm on the advisory board for the Recreation Department. And being on the advisory board, this has never come to us. So we know nothing about it. First time I heard about it was Commissioner Christen told me about it. And I was totally shocked that this was even being brought up without us even being able to talk about it. And I went to the next day. I went to the Boys and Girls Club. There's only 8 kids, and none of color in that building. So and I'm hearing that the Boys and Girls Club can't even accommodate teenagers. They don't have the staff or the wanting to support teenagers. Again, why would you bring this up and not bring it to your advisory board first? Traditionally, when you're doing anything in the recreation department, you bring it to the advisory board first. And I'm appalled about it, that y'all even do this. It's underhanded. I think you need to just, if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. Table it. Don't do it at all. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am Reverend Victoria Johnson, and I've been in Leesburg, Florida, 60 plus years. That's my life. I just want you to know every day I run a facility called Victoria's Haven Ministry Incorporated, where I house ladies who battle drug, alcohol, and life issues. Every day I teach those girls anywhere from how to take a bath, how to make a bed, how to fry their eggs, to how to say their prayers at night. And I know that when I sit at my desk and I hear interviews from girls that are 22 years old that tell me they've been banging drugs, heroin, fentanyl, the active ingredients in heroin, since they were 13 years old. I know that there definitely is a need for what you're proposing today. So I want to thank you for even the idea and the heart to want to build this teen center. And I also want to tell you before I take my seat that I think if you had an original voted proposal to build a state-of-the-art building for these children, I think you need to think about doing that. In Jesus' name is what I'm speaking.
Thank you.
My name is Tony Hardy. I'm a board member of the West Leesburg CDC. I'm here today because there's a problem in our city. And the problem in our city is very simple. That we forgot that Leesburg is a progressive city and not a city that's looking back to the past, but we're looking forward to the future. And in saying that, I look at some of the accomplishments that have been made. The Venetian Center didn't spare any cost. Amen. We got first rate that compared to any city in this nation, we are top of the line. We built a gymnasium here for our youth, and we didn't spare any cost in producing that gymnasium. Now on the agenda coming up, there's going to be a aquatic center, and we are not sparing any cost in building that aquatic center. But now the rubber is about to meet the road, and we're at a crossroad. New technology or old technology? New technology or old technology? If we take hard-earned city taxpayer dollars and grant money and invest in a facility that's 60-some years old, that's old technology. Our young people are technical savvy, they are smart, and they are not going back to old technology. If we're going to do something and we have the money to propel Leesburg as a progressive city into the future, let's build something from the ground up. Amen. So 20 years from now, we'll have a 20-year-old facility instead of an 80-year-old facility. I brought this for the city commissioner. And I choose to tell you, gentlemen, I've been here since 1958 in this city. And I wait on each and every one of you gentlemen and women conscience to let your conscience be your guide. If you're going to activate a vote and say, well, we're going to move forward with this project, I want you to think about what you're doing for our kids, our white kids, our black kids, our Hispanic kids, all of our kids. Are we going to give them old technology? Or are we going to deliver to them state-of-the-art, fiber optic, robotics, and all of the things that they're interested in? Amen. So let your conscience be your guide in this vote. Old or new? I say you should choose to move forward with the new.
Thank you.
Good evening. To the Mayor of Leesburg, Commissioners,
Please.
and Mr. Mena. I'm here this evening because I'm concerned about a decision that you may be about to make this evening that may impact young teenage men and women in this city who need desperate help in many areas of their lives. Now, please consider that this has been approved by the commission before to build a new teen center. I am speaking of a decision that you may make about the purchase of a church building to house a teen center which is 60 years old. And the notion that you may spend $500,000 plus to renovate if purchased when the city could build a structure that is brand new for this purpose, where no renovations would be needed. In a new structure, there would be a prolonged structural life and the modern features that may be needed to keep up with our changing society for the youth of this community. Our teens need to be respected as future citizens of the community, where they can go with pride in a building that was created with pride. It is my understanding that the teen center is supposed to be located in the Carver Heights community. The city will spend $1.1 million, I'll be off on dollars, for the Faith World Church versus $2.3 million for a new teen center on the property in the Carver Heights area. Yes, this is an area of opportunity for our youth to gain skills in photography, entrepreneurship, economics, technical skills, etiquette, homework assistance, and many of the basic skills to help them to prepare to become great citizens who can contribute to this community. A new building with the necessary appropriate equipment, space, and structural enhancements to accompany proposed programs and in the right part of our city is the ideal way to provide such a service. Please remember, you can provide a structure in the wrong part of a city, and if it is hampered by clients who are not able to utilize the services because of transportation or other economical factors, then the city again has made a major error in the offerings to citizens. In this case, I am speaking about our teens and future contributors to the citizens of Leesburg. We want our young adults to have reasons to return to this community so that they can raise their families and add to the economic growth of Leesburg. When they see that we are creating structures and programs that will enhance our community, they will want to return and take advantage of the offerings of their families. Today, or this evening, I'm speaking as an educator. I am speaking as a concerned citizen who understands the need for a teen center in our neighborhood. I am speaking as an advocate for the new teen center because it may just save someone's child from making a decision to commit criminal acts in our community. I am speaking as a person who would like to see a place where teens may gather for clean, wholesome fun, recreation, mental release, and counseling, and sometimes a place of refuge. Above all, it will show that you care about all facets of the citizens in our community. Thanks for this time. I am Carolyn Samuel, a retired educator and on the board of directors of the Community Development Center.
Amen. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is David Jones, and for the last 5 years I've been an educator at Leesburg Elementary School. I've always invested in our youth and in our community. and I work with children on a daily basis. Now more than ever, do our children, our teenagers, need a place, a safe haven that they can go. I work daily with kids who go home from 4th and 3rd grade classrooms, who take care of younger siblings, who sit at home babysitting because their parents are out working, trying to support them the best that they can. In our middle and high schools, unless a student is involved in an academic club or a team sport, there are no programs for them to go to after school. And so it's my opinion that if we're going to build a teen center, let's build one that's centrally located.
Amen.
Let's build one where everybody can get to it, not just one community, but let's build one where Montclair can get to it. Let's build one where Carver Heights and Beverly Shores can get there. Let's build one where Stock Subdivision can get to it. Let's make a smart decision for our teenagers.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Max Parker Jr. I'm the Vice President of West Leesburg Community Development Corporation. If you will allow me, Mayor, I got some things I need to pass out to you, if you can, if I may. I got yours cut out right now.
Okay, thank you.
Right, you want me to?
Yeah.
Thanks, Max.
That's in the packet.
Okay, Mr. Parker, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, patience. My name is Max Parker Jr. I'm the Vice President of West Leesburg CDC. Also, I'm a retired Deputy Chief of Leesburg Police Department. I've been involved in law enforcement over 30 years. Also, I did a couple of years in the state of Florida Boxing Commission, regulating boxing, kickboxing, and mixed martial arts for amateur and also professional. My concern today is not where you are with this particular transaction. I just want to talk to you as a stakeholder, as someone that cares about the community the way I believe everyone in here does, but also the mere fact that we all trying to get something for our young people. I want to look at, so what I did, I looked at the supporting documents. By me being in where I was law enforcement, I had to deal with a whole lot of Florida state statute, local ordinance and all that. So I had to understand that what's there as far as meaning something. What I gave each of you, passed each of you and stuff. And again, I just want to let you know that I saw some problems with the supporting documents. So that's those things that basically I want to question. One of the things that jumped out right at me was the fact that there was a letter that we received from our city attorney stating that there's no conflict of interest. I looked at that particular statute, read in that statute. If you look at it, it states that it's actually Florida State Statute 112.3143, Section 3, subsection A. If you look at the Florida State statute, what it stated at the bottom of the page 1, starting the full line from the bottom, and it reads from the top of the second page, it actually tells you about what's going on as far as being a conflict of interest in the state of Florida. If you compare that to the letter that you have, the same Florida State statute, section, subsection, states something totally different. The way I understand statutes, and all, you can't just put something in a statute. It has to relate to what's there that's been legislated. You can't add. If you want to say something for that, it has to be legislated all over, be another part. Excuse me. That's my number one concern. My second concern is probably a little deeper than that. There is a HUD rules and regulations that states basically that certain things you can't do. If there's an appearance of a conflict, HUD states that you have to get their approval before you go any further. If we were to look at what we have now in these documents, we've already violated HUD. We already have a problem that's going to cause someone to be notified that there was a problem. Again, that's my concern. My concern, again, that we try to do things right, the right way. Again, there has been appropriated, I want to say $2.3 million to build a teen center in Leesburg for the children. If you again look at what's there, look what's in the letter, look at the Florida State statute, see what it says as far as relatives, see what it says as far as anyone on the board, it would tell you that those folks cannot vote, those folks cannot take part in this particular transaction. Amen. Thank you very much.
There are certainly many
Could we have your name? Could we have your name, please?
Pastor Williams from the Citadel of Hope.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, there are several things that rises to my consciousness in this matter that I just want to quickly address and be out of your way. I can understand where Faith World as church is, desiring to be in a better place of ministry, to have greater impact, greater influence. I really understand that as a pastor. About 15, 16 years ago, I was in the same place. I had about 15,000 square foot of building in the Carver Heights community. And I needed somebody to come and give me a hand with that building. And so I went to the city and asked them about buying that building for a youth building. It would have been the perfect scenario. It had everything that at that time would have been feasible and plausible for a youth center serving all of the stakeholders and community participants. But the city felt there was not a fit or proper. And I went along with that and moved on down the road. So I understand that, pastor, this church, and I don't think we ought to make this an issue of negativism. Their desire is to do something of a ministry essence, but still we are bound by what is ethically, morally, and certainly as a church, scripturally correct.
All right.
Also, I have a building on our current campus, 3,500 square feet. It was my youth building. I put all kind of money in that building to try to make it appeasing to my youth. I painted it, changed it, dissected it, renovated, and the young people just did not buy into it. So I had to make a capital investment and build a 6,000 square foot building that they wanted on the campus. And I live by the motto, if you build it, Oh, y'all saw the same movie. I see that. Y'all saw the same movie. I'm glad y'all saw the same movie. But here is my conclusion, though. So I understand the investment in young people. I understand the necessity. I understand that if you don't pay now, oh, y'all heard that too. Y'all. But here's my concluding, because at the end of the day, I have one source, and that is Scripture. I was down here at the City Commission's meeting some months ago. I don't know when, it might have been years ago. And I read a scripture, and it came back to me later on that some commissioner said, well, I can quote scripture too. I'm glad they can, because the word of God is apropos to all of us. But here is the scripture that I want to leave with all of us, because at the end of the day, family, when we get through with our political and civil and community and address, and when we get through saying the yay and the nay and the ups and the down, at the end of the day, we're all bound by Scripture. And so here's what the Scripture teaches us.
Read the book.
In Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse number 29, here it is. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery and have vexed the poor and needy. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. And I sought for a man among them that should make up the hedge and stand in the gap before me for the land, that I should not destroy it, but I found none. Here is my challenge to all of you that have the authority and the responsibility to make a decision. Let us not be noted in history as a commission that is known for robbing our children, known for oppressing purpose and destiny. Let us not be known as a commission who aggravates the poor and the needy, and also to oppress those that we will never get to meet personally. But may we all be men and women who will stand in the hedge and make up the difference, so that our land, our city, and our county will not be destroyed.
Thank you.
To the mayor and to the commissioners and all of you, I am Dr. Shalia Smalley. I'm the pastor of Macedonia Church of the Living God at 1610 Griffin Road. I am a retired university professor from the University of Central Florida. I retired and I came back to Leesburg to help my mother open the new facility. 42 years of my life has been spent as an educator. I've been a Head Start teacher, I've been a classroom teacher, I've been a school principal in Orange County and in Leesburg with my own Humanities and Fine Arts charter school. And I've spent almost 20 years of my career as a university professor at both alma maters, Bethune-Cookman and the University of Florida. I'm a trainer of teachers. I'm a trainer of administrators. And I'm troubled tonight with the decision that you have before you. One of the things that troubles me is for us to think about Boys and Girls Club serving the needs of our children when they have been clear that their population is that of students from the younger age to 12 years old. That will not work for teenagers. We know that that population deserves people who are not only educated, but trained and highly experienced to work with them and make the difference so that they are able to be transformed individuals and contributors to our community. I am 67 years old and a native of Leesburg. I'm a product of segregated schools in Leesburg. I know what it's like to grow up and be in schools where we didn't have adequate books and materials or whatever we needed. But thank God for the teachers who were well trained, who told us we could be anything we wanted to be. We could do anything we wanted to do, and we had to make the difference. They prepared me as a student, a 16-year-old to leave Leesburg, skip 12th grade, and go to Bethune-Cookman, and Bethune prepared me for a master's and a PhD from the University of Florida. I'm a product of yours. And I am concerned that when we look at best practices, because I'm a researcher, I have a PhD. When we look at best practices, I tried very much the same kind of thing in Orlando with the infamous Mr. Harris Rosen, who adopted the Tangelo Park community and who has now helped to build the state-of-the-art school in Paramore. Mr. Rosen said to me, Dr. Smalley, when I was a fledgling professor at Bethune, at University of Central Florida, he said, I need to see an investment on my dollars. I'm sending all of these African-American children to college, but I need to know that their parents understand the investment that I am making, and I want to be sure that they can come back and be contributors to Orlando. So I left the Ivory Tower on Tuesday nights, and I went to Tangelo. See, we had to remove the fact that they couldn't say that I'm from the great white hope of UCF, and I'm asking them to come to us. I had to go to the community. Amen. It is important where location is. So we want to put this teen center where it's closest to the people that it will serve. Amen. In the Tangelo case, they were a low-performing school. In this case, Carver Middle is not a state-of-the-art school in terms of its averages, in terms of the test scores, but it is a good school. We want to make it a better school. Same thing we want to do with Beverly Shores. So we were able to get rid of the crime, increase test scores, and to get parents appropriately involved in their children's education. If a group of people is not trained to work with that population, we're not going to do anything but waste money. Boys and Girls Club staff, and I love them, I know them, but they are not trained to work with teenagers. So we need people who are trained to work with our teenagers. Here's best practice, 42 years, and I'm gonna give you this for free. Here's how we do it in schools. The first thing we do is we conduct needs assessments. Amen. You need a needs assessment of the students it's gonna serve, the parents that are going to have those children in the facility, and the schools that serve those children, because the three can come together and they can help inform what the services and the programs ought to be. A building cannot drive services and programs. We need a needs assessment of the people this will serve. Then when we get the needs assessment, it will inform us of the programs and services, and then we can design a state-of-the-art facility to meet those needs. To really build a new state-of-the-art, and we have the money to do that. There is something about building a state-of-the-art facility that really helps our children, no matter what color they are, to feel a sense of pride, to have a great self-esteem, and to say they cared about me enough to put some monies out here for us to do something. I'm asking you to let's get it right the first time. The first time. Because if we don't get this right the first time, we're gonna pay. All of us are gonna pay. And so I know that this city is a growing city. I want to see businesses and I want to see others come into our cities and contribute. But I have spent my entire life training children, adults, to be good citizens and to be able to have the skills necessary to matriculate. Our children need state-of-the-art facility. We need that. Nothing less than that will do. If we cannot do a needs assessment and get this thing right, let's not do it at all. That's my take.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Hi, Sandy Moore. I wasn't really planning on speaking, but I just, as we're in this room, I just wanted to say a couple things. One, I think it's incredible that we have this group of people here. And I'm sad because I feel this sense of one side against another here, when really This is a huge victory for our community that we have this many people that are in a room that are fighting for our kids. So I think that we can look at this in that there's not necessarily a right or a wrong, but that we're all really in the right, we're here for the right reason. Can we say that? The other thing I just want to make sure that we don't forget in doing this, because I think it's incredible. And I spent, prior to my world where it is right now in the city with the Chamber of Commerce, I actually was a children and youth minister for 10 years. And I know that so many things are revolved around program, not always facility. And I'm not saying that I would love for us to have a state-of-the-art facility for our teens. But I also want to point out that really you can have a great facility. If you don't have the right programming, it's not going to do what you want it to do. So facility is important. We also have more than just 2 schools. I know a couple people mentioned Carver and Beverly Shores, but we also have Leesburg Elementary. We have Oak Park, who actually is performing worse than Carver is right now in school grades. We also have Rhymes Early Learning Center. And then of course we have Treadway that's on the other side of the world that we forget about sometimes. So we have an entire community that we need to serve. And so looking at a location that's central, that can be accessed from all of those schools, I think is extremely important. And that's really all I wanted to say.
Donald Luckett, I'll be real short because I know the football game's on tonight. Location, location, location. I agree with 95% of what was said here tonight. But let's centrally locate it so it is easy for the students and the young people from east side of town, south side of town, west side of town, and north side of town equally accessible. I think one of the worst mistakes this city ever made was the resource center. Not that I was opposed to the resource center, but you put it way out there on the west side of town. And every time I go by there, I see 1, maybe 2 cars. I don't ever see any activity out there because it was location, location, location. Let's put it centralized, build a new facility. That's all I say. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, City Commissioners, my name is Truman Hurley. I'm the senior pastor of the church in question, Faith World. And I have been for 31 years. I came here in 1988 and took a struggling church in the middle of this area, Carver Heights, Montclair area. And I've been in this neighborhood ever since. I know these people. I know the things that they face every day of their lives. Our church is affiliated with the United Pentecostal Churches International, which has 42,000 churches in the United States. We're governed by them and their bylaws. And just in answer to some things that have been said and written, I am not retiring. We are not selling our building and dispersing the money between me and others. Nobody, no one person will prosper or profit from the sale of our building, whether you buy it or someone else buys it. No one person will profit by that. We're expanding. Our ministry is thwarted. We have no more room. We must expand or relocate, and that's what we're doing. So I'm here to speak for the single mom who works sometimes 8-10 hours a day, who has a 5-year-old kid that cannot go home alone, cannot run up and down the streets, must have an after-school program. I'm here speaking for the dad in this community whose wife is incapacitated with cancer, has a 7-year-old child that has to go somewhere after school until dad gets home. So what I'm saying is that this community desperately needs a youth center, an after-school program. I know these people. I work with them. I minister to them. I counsel them, I know them, and this is desperately needed, and it is not needed 3 years from now when we build a state-of-the-art thing. It's needed tomorrow. If we can save a child tomorrow, that's what we need to do. That's where our focus, I think, needs to be. Is our building in the right location? Much has been said about location. It's about 1 mile or 1.2 miles or whatever from every school in this area. It's on Main Street. It's easily accessible. It's in the right location, the perfect location. You move it closer to Rhymes Elementary, you're farther away from Oak Park. You move it closer to Leesburg High School, you're farther away from Carver Heights. It's perfect. It's right there. And finally, if you do this, it costs you nothing. You're not spending city money. You're not dipping into your budget. You have it covered. The Boys and Girls Club is ready. You have the grant. So you got 3 points. We desperately need it. Our kids need it. It's in the right location, and it basically costs you nothing. And I urge you to vote yes on this tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Earl.
My name's Roger Croft, and I'd like to first say
Please.
that, like Sandy mentioned, I'm very impressed by the discussion we've had tonight, and I agree with about 99% of what's been said, except for one thing. We can't afford to table this. Maybe the location, but we can't table the project of having a teen center. And I think we're confusing the need for one center. You can't have elementary school children together with high school adults. So maybe there's a need that could pacify everybody in this room by having 2 facilities. You know, if the faith world is a good central location, you know, maybe we can put the Boys and Girls Club in there with the younger students and the younger children of our community, and then still have a facility no matter where we build it. If it's in Carver Heights, if it's, you know, in where we're talking about putting the pool, as long as we have a facility that meets the needs of this community, I think we need to open up that discussion possibly. And I want to take this time. I lost a very dear friend in Hugh Brown this week, and he did a lot for our community. And if we could just say a prayer for his family. He's one of the best fathers and most caring people I've ever met, and just keep your prayers out for that family. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Commissioner. My name is Dr. Erica Jasper. I'm just here to encourage you. I know all the sentiments have come before, but let's remember the focus point at hand, our future. I believe the children are our future. We need to teach them well and let them lead the way. And I do want to comment on the comments that Dr. Smalley made. I want to echo what she said. A needs assessment needs to take place so that we can facilitate the needs of our future, of our children. And I just want to encourage you to hold off on the vote tonight, because I just feel like everything is just rushed. Let's just sit back, take a step back, think things over, and look over these the request at hand, and just make sure that we're doing this accurately and correctly the first time. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Betty Stevens Coney. I've been an advocate for community and students since I was about 15 or 16 years old. I have been Thank you. We here now? My name is Betty Stevens Coney. I have been a community advocate advocating for what we thought to be the right thing and the right action to take since I was 15 years old, actually. And you're perhaps wondering, what did you do back then? Well, we were at Carver Heights High School, and the student body realized that our principal was being removed, and we didn't understand that. So other people, along with myself, led a protest from campus. That was when Mr. Williams was there, lest you're wondering. P.E. Williams. Yes, all I'm saying is I am continuing to be a voice for that in which I believe. And I do believe that to build a new teen center is the path that we should take. Why is it that actions have consequences? Why is it that what you give is what you get? Why is it that what goes up is what comes down? Why is it that what you put in a thing is what you get out of it? It is because all things work together. All things are related. Summarily, then, beginning with the end in mind and realizing that, yes, all things are related, and realizing that all things work together for good to those, somebody knows the rest? That's correct. That's correct. Now that proves one thing. All of us do not have the same background and experiences. Another way of saying that is all things work together for good for those who are fair, for those who are kind, and for those who are expeditious in communities' human capital. I am offering, please, this statement for understanding. It's a statement for understanding because all of us do not have the same background. All of us were not socialized the same. And it is not until all of us can come together at the table of reasoning that we shall move from this place where we are to where we must go. So in looking at a statement for understanding, can you believe with me that we are involved in a total mind change, a paradigm shift that can have a positive domino effect in our homes, our schools, and our coming together as a community, along with the city government, by investing in a new state-of-the-art teen center facility, with the goal being to help close the gaps of youth in our community, in the areas of social, emotional, cultural, academic, and spiritual growth and development. Now, these are the advantages when we come together as one. The advantages shall be fair rewards as monetary investments for human capital. That seems pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Improvement in our academic achievement of students, as well as the reduction in graduation rates, plus more. That seems pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Attracting business and industry to our area. That seems pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Reduction in drive-by shootings. Does that seem reasonable? Reduction in mental and emotional therapy care. I don't have to ask about that one. Better homes and communities. economic opportunities, and social security rewards, because this is our experience. Bear with me, please. Roughly 1 in 8 youth in the United States is considered to be what scientists call disconnected. Disconnectedness encompasses overlapping forms of disadvantages pervading most students in their formative years.
Mrs. Coney Stevens, could you please start to wrap this up?
Yes, I shall.
Thank you.
And standing between them is that they're coming from communities that are unfunded schools, segregated housing, and simply an absence of supportive peers and adults in their lives. So rather than write off our teens, rather than write off our youth, let's see them as opportunity youths. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my plea for a statement of understanding.
Amen. Thank you.
My name is Matthew Turner. I'm a Leesburg city employee. I love this city. They do a lot for me. They even pay me a paycheck every couple of weeks. I appreciate my position here with the city. I appreciate everything that this city does. I spend most of my time in the city, my family with me. We spend our money here. We find our entertainment here. And we worship our one true God here. And I am also a member of Faith World Church. I'm not here to speak and advocate solely just for the purpose of any benefit that's going to go to any one or more person at Faith World Church, but I think that it's very clear what we've been hearing tonight is there is a need staring us in the face. It's been staring us in the face for a long, long time, and that need is the need to give aid, to offer assistance for, to offer a safe haven and a place for the young people of Leesburg of all ages. If we can help children who live in a single parent home where the single parent is hardly ever home because they're out working to try to provide for that child or the children in that home, if we can provide a place for them when they're younger, I believe that is all the better. If we can save them then when they become teenagers, they can be involved in reaching out and supporting and helping those younger age children before they even reach adulthood themselves. But that doesn't set aside the fact that there are teenage age children in the city that do need help. So my point of discussion to the Board of Commissioners, who are the ones that are voting on this, you're the only ones that I have to try to convince tonight, because your vote is, I don't get to vote, neither does anybody else in this room. But if you listen to what has been said tonight, the need to help the children in Leesburg of all ages is a need that needed to be met yesterday. And on the table before us all tonight is a solution to the need, staring you in the face. And the longer that we put it off, the longer that we wait, is the longer that someone's child is not going to get the help, the assistance, the safe haven, the place that they need, that we can provide for them. So I've heard someone mention, why the rush? Why not the rush? Why the rush? Because it's vitally important that we do it as fast as possible. We've been looking for a solution. Money was allocated for a solution time back, and now the solution has come before you, and we're a simple vote away from making that solution become a reality for the children of Leesburg, for the teenagers of Leesburg, for the families of Leesburg, and for the betterment of all in Leesburg. So I strongly urge and encourage the commission tonight to vote yes on this so we can move forward with establishing a beautiful, centrally located to all those that need it, teen and youth center for the city of Leesburg. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vincent Felton.
I'm a 35-year retired educator, and I live in the Villages. And since we have become a blended community, the more than 2,000 African American residents of the Villages believe that the children in Leesburg are our children too. So we are concerned that since the money has been allocated and a project has, I believe, been approved at some point, and that you are ready to go ahead. And then there's some turn of events put brakes on you. I hear about expedience. But time has been gone since you approved this project. Where was the expedience?
All right.
I think you ought to vote on the new center and do it quickly. Because the children of Leesburg, the teens, need it. I understand you said you had a problem with the children of Leesburg, that they were doing things that weren't appropriate to what your city image is. Well, then do something about it. Build the facility, do the needs assessment, get the programs, put in the things that the children need, and you'll be helping to solve your own problems. Now, this community of Leesburg, the African American community of Leesburg, is a sleeping giant. So this is one of the projects that is beginning to awaken us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Randy, last name is Hepburn. Born and raised in Leesburg, 63 years. I'm also a youth coach. I've been coaching the city of Leesburg youth sport for over 40 years. Now, I don't have a degree in anything, but God, thanks be to God, He blessed me with common sense. And that means more to me than any education you can go get anywhere in the world. Common sense. And it came from God. And I want to tell you this. A few years ago, probably 3, I was at a city commissioners meeting. I had a commissioner tell me that at no time on a Saturday that I would see him at a sports event representing kids in this city. A commissioner said that. You can't take the time out on a Saturday to come out there and see the kids play or see how your program's working? That's ridiculous. That is very disrespectful to everybody in this city. Everybody. I'm not going to call their name. They know who they are. They know exactly who they are. Who said it. And it's appalling, and they ought to be ashamed of itself, calling itself a Christian. Now, I'm going to just tell you like it is. I tell the truth because that's what God wants me to do. Tell the truth. Now, we know they had a problem down at Venetian Garden. They wanted to do some additions to make it a whole lot prettier than what it was. Al, you found $700 and some plus dollars. So the rest of that money that you're talking about, that we may be short of building that new teen center, find some more. You can find it. Find some more money to build that new teen center. That's what you need to do. You need to represent everybody. That's what needs to be done. If you can find money, you can pull $700,000 out of a hat, find some more. It's some more here somewhere. It's some more money here. So I just want to say that to let the people know we need a new teen center here. We don't need nothing else but team. Now, the next thing what you have, you said you went down there. What? You an architect? Are you a builder? What experience do you have? Did you take any youth down there to ask the young people, hey, what you think about this building? Did you take one down there? Answer them questions. Did you take one?
Sir,
did you take nobody down there?
Sir,
so how could you get an opinion?
Please.
I'm done. I'm doing what God asked me to do.
And so am I.
Hello, Council. My name is Rachel Thompson. For a discussion based solely on young people, I notice a lack of young people, so I'm here to vouch for them. This is so large of a matter that I don't believe we can waste time finding solutions. My friends, 14, 15 years old, are pregnant and on the streets, and they don't know where to go. This is something we cannot wait for. The time that it would take to build a new facility, another group of young people will pass and will be lost to the streets. This is imperative and needs to be done right away. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Chris George. I'm a Leesburg resident for 11 years. Prior to coming here, I was an engineer at General Motors for 30 years. And I can tell you that we built a lot of brand new Cadillacs in plants that were built in 1934. I happened to look on the Google while I was standing here, and I noticed that this particular building that we're standing in is almost it's almost 100 years old. I think it's 94 years old. And in 1988, it was enlarged. And so I think what we need to consider here is not necessarily the building or the location, but the resources, the people. Whoever is in charge of that center, whether it be a brand new built facility on grass or a remodeled building, whoever is in charge of that facility is responsible for the success of that facility. And it takes dedication, it takes people. I heard the words needs assessment. It takes critical evaluation. And that is what is going to make or break the success of the teen center. There's no question we need a teen center, but we need a teen center that will work. We need a teen center that can be started quickly. We need a teen center that can be manned properly. We need a teen center that will instruct our children. And by the way, I have a grandson that lives with me who's 16 years old, so I'm just not speaking as an old man. I'm telling you that there is a need in this area for a structure, a place where people can go and where teens can go and find instruction and guidance from the adult community. I would encourage the commissioners to vote yes on the Faith World property, and I would encourage you to do diligence in manning it and instructing it and overseeing it for great success. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Sir, are you coming up to the podium? Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name's Kevin Blair, and I am a member of Faith World. And I'm not a doctor, don't have a big high degree or anything. But all I think is, with the kids, they need someplace now. They need somebody to run it, and I've heard so many great comments and stuff here for what needs to be done. But it doesn't need to be done in 3 years. Let's get it done now. Let's get it going. You know, all of you folks that are here tonight, you're here for the kids. We need to put that forward. That needs to be addressed. Get the people in there that are parts of this community that have the knowledge and have the experience. Let's work together on this. This needs to be something that needs to be done in this community. It doesn't need to be done down the road. Let's get it happening tomorrow, next week, not 2 years from now. Okay. Another thing I want to say, again, location. And I believe that. You go out and you try to buy a piece of real estate somewhere, it's all about location. So I want to thank you for your time, and let's work together. Let's work together for these kids. These kids are important. They are our future.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Ed Thompson, and I've enjoyed hearing the different comments and opinions. I think the best thing I've heard here tonight was the gentleman that suggested to do both. have two centers. And as my friend over here said, hey, we can find the money. I'm sure we could find the money for two if we really wanted to. So I think the best thing is a win-win to buy it and also build one. Then we have the most resources for our kids. Good. And I've noticed a lot of older people speaking here today, mostly over 40. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if there's anyone here, maybe 21, 25 or under, we'd love to hear your opinion tonight, to hear from the young people. That would be awesome. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Eartha Carter Watson, and I am going to be very short, brief, and sweet. When will you all let us know when the groundbreaking will be for this new teen center?
Good evening. My name's Derek King. I live here in Leesburg. I've served Lake County Schools for a number of years. I've worked and volunteered at most of the schools in this area. As an educator currently, one of the things I understand is that when you work in the school system, you often are limited by funds for what you can do for the youth. And that oftentimes means that we have to deal with what we have. This is a taxpayer-funded item. Therefore, I believe we shouldn't do the same thing that we have to do in the school system and say, hey, we can't build a new facility for our children because we don't have the money right now. All of our schools right now, many of our schools rather, are buildings right now that we don't have the money to renovate. The students have to use portables and other different facilities that aren't necessarily up to date. Why would we put our students in a facility that's 60 years old when we have opportunity to make a statement and say, hey, the schools might not be able to build you a brand new school in the area that you live, but hey, we can build a teen center in the area that you live. We can get local educators to volunteer and work in that teen center in the evenings instead of requiring people who have never worked with children between the ages of 13 and 18 like many of us teachers do every day.
Amen.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Ruby Mitchell, and the only thing I'd like to point out is with the building. I just had to move from a building with a flat roof that was very, very old, over 60 years old, and they patched and they patched and they patched, and they could not repair. It still rains in the building, the plumbing's messed up, the whole 9 yards. So I'm not understanding why. Then I hear the words location, location, location. I remember when the Boys and Girls Club was at top capacity filled when they were serving our teenagers, and they were way out 44.
Amen.
So there was the location, 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 but now you have it at Venetian Garden, and we just heard a report that there were 8 people there.
Amen.
So there's your location. You build it, they will come. Now, I've heard a lot of comments, and I've read a lot of comments that said, well, why is Carver Heights getting so much money, and why is everything going out to Carver Heights? Why not Carver Heights time? Everybody else has had their time. Every other side of Leesburg has had their time.
Amen.
They've gotten new buildings. We've got a new Venetian Gardens building. We've got the beach going on. We've got the Aquatica coming. So why not Carver Heights? Do you mean to tell me that if you build a state-of-the-art building in the Carver Heights area, or anywhere else for that matter, people aren't going to come? They come to the Resource Center. I'm at the Resource Center. I rent the rooms and hold classes and things there quite often. My kids use the gym that has been built over there. The other point I would like to point out is in Orlando, somebody was talking about when you patch a school or you make a brand new school. My daughter teaches at a brand new state-of-the-art school in Orlando. It's called Carver Middle, but it's in Orlando in the worst neighborhood there is. And those kids have thrived at that brand new center. They're so proud to go to school at this brand new center instead of a school that has been patched and trailers and portables and overhangs that need to be repaired. So I just believe that if you build it, they will come. I don't think transportation will be an issue.
Most of the people that are served or used to be served by the Boys and Girls Club are picked up from the schools, and the schools have buses that go to those areas. So I don't understand that issue. And then, before I sit down, I would like to say one more thing. If Main Street is the center of focus and it is the best location, the Genesis Center is already fixed up. The Genesis Center has been serving teenagers for years. Have y'all considered buying the Genesis Center? I just thought I'd ask.
Thank
you. Good evening. My name is Franchetta Honor, and I just want to say I hear the need for rush right now. Everybody's talking about rush, but the decision to build this teen center happened how many years ago?
More than 5.
Okay, so to me that means if you haven't rushed in 5 years, why do we have to rush now? But what I feel is that this is all about the kids, and I appreciate the vote that happened that we should do this, but I don't think we should cut the kids short.
Amen.
And I think they deserve a new building. So, my thing is, I understand that things are continually happening every day, but if you've taken 5 years and haven't done anything, I think we can wait 3 more for a new building. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start to wrap this up. So if there's 1 or 2 more people, fine, and then we're going to go ahead and hear comments from the commissioners.
My name is Vincent Brown. I was born in Leesburg, 1946. I worked and retired 2 years ago. Well, I'm still working now. But my question is, I hear people saying it's going to take 3 years to build a teen center, wherein we built the new community center in less than 1 year. That's why I just have a problem with that, if we have the money allocated.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Amen.
Hello, my name is Martha Taylor. I'm the president of Tri-City NAACP. I've heard comments, and I have some of the same issues. I have a question, just like this gentleman said. What is the difference? Why is the teen center going to take forever, and it'll only, we can renovate the Faith World overnight?
Amen.
My other issue is that it seems that you're taking me back before 1954.
All right.
When someone decided, we'll decide what we give you. You don't need new, and what we give you is good enough. I wasn't born and raised here, but my family has been here since the middle 1800s. I've been coming here for over 7 decades on a regular basis. I know the area. I know some of the problems. I have watched growth. I have watched change. This area needs a new teen center. And I'll tell you, I won't go into my long history from military and living all over the country and getting involved everywhere. But I had the opportunity. I have done construction, projects, government projects, procurement, services from the federal government, state governments, and city governments. You can't do anything properly without not only a needs assessment, but it has to be a proper needs assessment. How do you build something and don't know what you're building? I have managed projects where you took a building, and because we had to take the funding out of one pot and put it into another pot, we couldn't do new construction. We knocked down 3 walls, left the wall standing, and built a new building. I understand all of that. You haven't told us how long it will take to renovate Faith World. It's obviously not adequate for what our children need, what our children deserve. They need a new building. I had the opportunity of working in a small community where they have the most HUD housing developments at concentration of any place in this country. We built the teens a center. We as legislators decided we knew what they wanted and what they needed. And we decided we got funding, we were going to give them what we wanted them to have or what we thought they needed without asking them. Almost at the very last minute, we asked them. It was almost a shell. But the technology that they brought in, the scores in their school, the education, those who were not going to school came back because they went to the teen center and they were proud. It was their teen center, not the teen center we wanted to give them. It was their teen center. It met the same time constraints, and it did more than we could even imagine. We don't need you to rush because I don't know what the rush is with Faith World. They deserve whatever they need, but not at the expense of our teens. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Brianna Kuzar, and the big issue is you want to give me an old building to create new memories. You want to give me something old that I can't use and that I'm not going to want to go in because I'm always going to remember it as Faith World, but I'm not going to remember it as the new teen center. You want to give me old memories in a new building. I want new memories in a new building. I want to be able to go and create something. I want to be able to say, that's the teen center right there. I want to be able to walk in a building that I'm proud of. I'm sure the members of Faithful are proud of their building, but I want to walk into a building that I could be proud of, that's state of the art, that's going to meet my needs. That's going to meet the needs of my little brothers and sisters, that are going to meet the needs of this city. Yes, I am new to the city and I come from a big city where change is possible, but I've never heard of anybody saying they want to reach back and get the teens. We get the little ones. We get high schoolers just before they're about to be pushed out the door, but we never get the middle age. So today, we need a new building. Don't rush it. Make sure it's the best. Don't give me excellence. Don't give me something rushed. Don't give me patched buildings. Give me state of the art. Give me what I deserve, because right now you're saying I don't deserve a new building. I don't deserve new memories, and I don't deserve the best. But I believe we deserve the best. We deserve a new building to create new memories. We waited this long. We can wait a little more. Let's set up little avenues so we can get the kids together so they can input into this because it's for them. So get them together. The city can do that. We can bring them together once or twice a month so that this is their building to create new memories. Thank you.
My name is Gary Kiner. I'm a lifelong tax-paying, concerned citizen of Leesburg for the past 65 years. Now, from my understanding, that there is $2.3 million allocated and or appropriated for a new facility. I saw and witnessed that the old community building was torn down, not refurbished, but started from a new construction. And on the table is a bar and grill that's coming up already. Gonna be down there in the same area without protest. So all I'm saying is, if the money is there, why are we here haggling on over the old Faith World building or a new facility for our kids? In the words of our dearly departed Elijah Cummings, come on, people, we're better than this.
Okay, we're going to open it up to the commissioners and hear what they have to say about this. I do appreciate all those who spoke tonight. I hear what you're saying. I do appreciate it. Let's hear what the commissioners have to say.
Well, coming up.
Not for me. Okay. Now, we all respected you. Please respect the commissioners. Thank you.
I feel like I should maybe start this since I'm the one that started this. I have to admit, I never fathomed.
Get closer to the microphone.
My seat is short and my microphone is short. I'm trying. I don't have no more front.
There you go.
I was a science teacher one time.
Yes, sir, you were. So to say that I'm a little surprised would be remiss if I didn't point that out. Is not what I expected when I got on the city commission. As you understand how politics work, we all have things that are near and dear to our hearts, and then you find ways as a group to facilitate getting things done. When I came to this commission, Commissioner Christian had already been serving on here for some time, pastored a church in this community for a while. His family has been pastoring in this community for a long while, and he has been working and dealing with the community on all levels, from our young children to our old seniors. Let's just use that word. So when Commissioner Christian began to speak in my early days on this commission, one of the things he talked about 7 years ago was the things that we needed in regards to our youth. He was instrumental in getting our gymnasium there. There's a plaque even on the wall honoring him for his efforts to help raise money through different avenues to get that erected. And he has continued even to last year when he pushed real hard to get the resource center built, because he has been striving and pushing for things that were dear and passionate to his heart. I have my interest. Every commissioner here has interest, and we have been diligently working over my last 7 years accomplishing things that I feel like the previous commissions didn't get accomplished for some time. And we have begun to restore pride in our community. When you drive into Leesburg now, it's not just a dump here or a dump there, but we've worked and took the criticisms for trying to beautify our city, trying to bring new structures in, trying to bring resources in, trying to bring business and industry in, and I think that we have done a really good job at that. We began trying to discuss teen centers and the issues that are facing our youth, period. And it's not a Leesburg problem, folks. It's a nationwide problem. Our children need help, and it's help that I can't remember the exact verbiage, but they say it takes a community to raise a child, and I believe that. It can't be a single parent or one Sunday school teacher or one Boy Scout coach or one football coach or one educator. It really does take all of us. And so obviously we have a great need in our community like every other community. For me, I was honest when I said I was surprised. Not long ago, just months back, we were approached. The commission was presented by a commissioner to buy the Knights of the Columbus building and to be able to utilize that as a teen center. We acted on that quickly because we saw the need. We didn't send it to rec boards, and we didn't go out and do a big long needs assessment and all those things. We spent $250,000, and we bought that because we knew that it could meet some need, but it was still small. As that discussion grew, we as a commission realized that that building was going to be too small, and so that led to a wonderful discussion where after some of the projects that we have accomplished, were over, we started looking at how we could allocate money to build a larger facility in hopes that this facility at the Knights of Columbus would be a short term and we would get it done. And just so those of you that keep asking the question, how does it take 3 years? I'll tell you real quick, and this has nothing to do with it. It takes 3 years because it's government. If we decided tonight that we're going to build a new facility, then we start having discussions on where that facility is going to be built. And everybody gets a right to come in and voice their opinion. Then we have to discuss what kind of facility, and everybody gets to have their opinion on that. Then it goes to engineers, and then it goes to architects, and then it finally goes out for bids. And when everybody's through, then we get on the building process. What took us a year to build a community center took us 4 years to build, actually, because the process is just that long. So it's not that we don't want to expedite construction, it is just a lengthy process. But going back to where I'm at, my father is the pastor, the senior pastor of Faith World. I'm not sure how different organizations and structures work, but since these were said about me, I would like to just clear the record. I'm not here to change minds, just to clear the record. My father was a pastor in Oklahoma City, and then they moved him to Dallas, Texas, and now he is at Leesburg in Faith World. He belongs to the United Pentecostal Church International, which has 42,000 churches in America alone. When my father's gone, whether he moves to Georgia tomorrow to pastor or he moves to meet Jesus, his church will still be there, just like every other pastor's church, hopefully, would still be there with whoever they place in there. I find it a little bit disheartening that it would be inferred that I somehow would in any way reap any kind of benefits from that, or that my father or anybody else, because nobody in the Hurley family owns any buildings, interest in it, or reeks a dollar or benefits in any way, which is, I believe, how they came to the conclusion. To speed up the process, to make my point of how we ended up here tonight, Faith World outgrew its building, the location between its congregation size and ministry needs. My father called me several months ago and was just telling me how excited they were because an opportunity for a larger facility had come available and they were taking steps to move forward on it. I said, no problem. I thought that was great. We had discussions recently about teen centers, and it just hit me. Wow, it's 10,000 square feet, sits on several acres of land, it's on Main Street in the middle of our schools. This might work to help us do what we're trying to accomplish. I contacted our city manager. He looked at it. We contacted staff who came out and looked at it. We contacted Boys and Girls Club. And for the people who run those programs, they said this would work great. Now, I do feel sorry for two groups of people here tonight, and that is the Boys and Girls Club, who has been basically told that they don't know what they're doing, that they don't have the training, that they don't know how to facilitate the needs. They've got a track record in this country, and they've got a proven record of being great at what they do and knowing how to take care of the needs of our children. And I'm also sorry for the members of Faith World, who you're building, that you've put your blood, sweat, and tears for the last 20 years and turned it into the building that not you, but praisers said was worth what it was worth. And you're proud of it. I get that. And I'm sorry that it's been called everything from a patch job to a dump. But it's not. For those of you who's never been there, you ought to visit on any Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. Pastor would probably welcome you to the congregation, and you could see the facility for yourself. I simply just thought this might help us facilitate it. We also on the commission have been talking about a lot of other projects that we would like to do, so this could free up some money to put us in the general fund so that we could continue to do some other projects. So I do apologize for the whatever that we've ended up here. I was just simply trying to facilitate a need that we've been talking about. I don't think there was any rush. I was excited that maybe there was an opportunity, and everybody that looked at it said this would work great. So I think that it's a great opportunity. I do agree with our young ladies that came up and said you deserve a $5 million building. And hey, if Al Minter can figure out a way to build you a $5 million Taj Mahal, I am all with you, kiddos. I just know our budget restraints, and so it is. But I tell you where we are, and I'll answer questions as comments come.
Commissioner Roebuck.
So, first of all, I'd like to
Folks,
thank everyone
please.
for coming out tonight and talking about our kids. I had lots of calls about this issue. Appreciate all the input. Certainly, while controversial, it's good that everyone wants to help the kids, and the Teen Center I think is a good project. One thing I do want to push back a little bit is this idea that we have kind of some unlimited money and we spend an unlimited amount on every project we do. I know I certainly push back personally probably on every project we do and say it costs too much. But how do we find $700,000 for the community building? We've outfound a couple $100,000 and then we cut about $400,000 of cost out of it by making it not as nice as we originally wanted to because we didn't have the money.
Number was $1 million.
$1 million. We cut $1 million of cost from that project. The same with the pool. The original pool numbers came back. We don't have that type of money. They're $5 million. We cut costs. So we do cut cost on every building. So I'm not necessarily opposed to a new teen center, but I just want to be very clear that I'm not going to support a Taj Mahal teen center, a $400 square foot. I'm going to support a quality building like every other building we've done in Leesburg. And the buildings we've done in Leesburg, they're high quality. They're not over the top.
Please.
So I just want to get that out there because it's easy to come to one meeting and kind of pick up bits and pieces of things you've heard and not seen us sit here and argue about what we're going to cut, where are we going to find the money. We don't have a bunch of money sitting around. I believe we have $1.5 million budgeted for that. Is that correct, Al?
1.5.
We don't have $2.3 million. That number was thrown out. We don't have a bunch of just cash sitting around. I'm not saying we can't, save some up or come up with it, but it's not unlimited. So I think that's just important to point out. Another thing, it bothered me about the conflict of interest thing. There were some things brought up here. There were things in an opinion piece in the newspaper, it's not just the statutes. There's case law. Fred, our city attorney, is an expert in this. And if the city attorney tells any of us we don't have a conflict, we can't just say, well, I know you say that, but I don't feel good about it, so I'm not going to vote. That's not legal. We are required to vote unless we have a conflict. So the city attorney has said that Commissioner Hurley doesn't have a conflict. That just have to take that as it is. Someone brought up 15 years ago. I don't think any of us were on the commission. Well, maybe Commissioner Christian, but if so, you weren't the one telling them no, we don't have the money.
Not yet. So, I was in the back though.
You're in the back. So that maybe we should have bought that building 15 years ago, but we weren't here. In terms of the location, I do think this building is a good location in the sense that it is right in between Oak Park, Carver, and the high school. That to me is attractive. In terms of whether it's suitable, I went through it this morning and it was not much nicer than I was expecting for a 60-year-old building. That being said, I don't think anyone here, myself included, know if this building is appropriate for this use. And that would be discovered if we get into a contract. We would need to bring a commercial contractor in and have them tell us what would need to be done to bring it up to code. What would that happen? What would that cost be? And if we moved forward and that cost came back to some crazy number, then that's the way contracts work. We can walk away. So that would be, if we move forward on this, important for me that we don't just get a kind of a condition report. We actually bring in a commercial contractor that has experience in these things and can give us an actual number of what it would cost to do what we want to do with it. It was brought up about the community study, kind of a needs assessment. I do really like that idea. I think that is important to know that, because whether we move forward with this building or we build a new one, that's data that we're going to need. That being said, for me, if we move forward, I would want to see 60 days of due diligence as one of the changes, which would also push out closing, because in addition to the number, I'm going to want a community needs study as well to see, because I think that's part of whether the building works or not. And even if we end up not with this building, it's money well spent because it's something that we need. I do think time's important. You heard me talk about how I'm always complaining about money and that we're spending too much on things. And at the same time, less than a year ago, many of the same people in this room tonight that are saying don't rush came and told us to rush and that we need to buy the Knights of Columbus building. And I know they're not the same, but even though I felt that that wasn't a great financial decision, because if we're going to build a teen center, why are we going to spend $250,000 for 3 years? Yeah, maybe there's another use later. But for me, it was the time that if we can start helping kids now, we need to start helping kids now. So that being said, the last thing, I don't know that I'll let other commissioners speak to see where we're at before we even go way down this road, because maybe not worth my time, is the price. I did have a couple issues with the appraisal. At the $1 million number, I do think is too high. There's a number I could get comfortable with the other changes, but I'll let the other commissioners speak before we get down that road.
Commissioner Peterson.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to skip me. Let's see, as the others have said, I do appreciate the turnout, the concerns, all the comments. I may have been offended by a few, as my fellow commissioners probably were, but I can handle that. One thing I want to clarify, maybe I missed it. I think the commission was in agreement on a site next to the gymnasium. Help me out here. And I don't know if this was clarified to the group, but it is not in this CDBG target area. So I want to be sure everybody understands that. I mean, because we're being criticized for, move fast, slow down, move fast.
Yeah, let me, if I can address that. And I have to correct myself. Frank, where are you, Frank Stanfield? I lied to you. Actually, the teen center project went in the budget this fiscal year 20. So we had those discussions this summer. So and I understand John's perspective, because John's been on a mission for a long time. So it's not a new project to him. For me, I would say it is a new project because it's in this year's budget. So with that perspective, when we had those budget discussions this summer, this body, I walked away from those discussions that this body was concerned. This body was okay with putting that $1.5 million in, but there was a clear message sent from this body to me that money was not to be spent until we had answers. And the biggest answer being was that I think that there wasn't a formal vote, but there was clear discussion that there was concern about operations of that facility. And I think that in lies the biggest point of this conversation. Frank, I will tell you that this project has moved fast from a fiscal year 20 perspective, because those were June discussions, and we're on the precipice of building and buying a facility. And if we buy the facility and we partner with Boys and Girls Club, that could be July start. So 365 days in government time is a blink of an eye, Randy. That's fast. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make there is that there was a big question on this body whether we wanted to have the operational expense of a facility.
I was talking. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I just wanted. I didn't know if I missed that or.
Well, I think
the community need to hear that.
But you didn't tell them about the letter from Congressman Webster's office.
Okay, let me go back because the target issue, and I also wanted to talk on. And I don't mean to steal anybody's thunder on the commission, but I'll get to target issue. But I also want to talk because Max made some points. Max Parker made some points about this conflict of interest, and I think it's important that the community understand this question, because from a management perspective, I think we have that covered. I disclosed to CDBG in conversations with Allison Thal, who runs the CDBG program at the county, of a change of acquisition or construction versus acquisition. I told her point blank that Commissioner Hurley was involved in this, and his father was the pastor of the church. That came from me, my mouth, to CDBG. And CDBG still has the overriding authority to approve or not approve this project. So they got Fred's legal opinion, right? And Fred says there's no controversy. So what Max handed out tonight, we have followed, okay? We followed to the extent that CDBG through the county has said, we want a legal opinion, and we're still going to review what we think is correct, and there's a contingency in the contract that's pending CDBG. Those are important points. Whether you like the contract or not like the contract, or like the purchase or not like the purchase, the point is the conflict of interest is covered. Our opinion was there was no conflict. We've expressed that to CDBG. CDBG can still override us, and if they do, there's a clause in the contract that says we're out because we lost the funding. So our interest, the city's financial interest, is covered. So I think the conflict can rest.
Okay.
Target area.
Okay.
So we started down the road in June with the potential of building a center. And there was the concept, and I think back to John's time, and he can talk to this probably better than I can, but I think that there was always the intent of expanding the gymnasium in some form or another on the east side. Let me get the map. And I apologize. Ken, will you put that up and blow up the portion right there on Griffin Road? And I'm going to put a little X on this map. The X on this map marks the gymnasium. Ish. Okay, so we ventured down this road in June, setting up the 20-year budget. I think there's some trepidation on where we do it, how we do it, how it's built, where it goes. But I think the initial conversation, you said, oh, I don't even see my X on that thing. Oh, no, that's not the X. That's not it. Put mine up there. Because that's not, this is important. That is important, okay? I'll explain the map in a second. So we go down the path this summer with varying opinions, but ultimately we're moving forward with how we procure a facility or build a facility. And our process is, first, the commission has to agree on it. Second, we have to design it. So we were in that design phase. So how we design it is we have to go through a recruitment process called a request for qualifications. A request for qualifications is the process you use to hire architects, engineers, and attorneys? Definitely architects and engineers. And a long story short, we went through that process. Going through that process, we also were working with CDBG. CDBG was concerned because they awarded this project, but we didn't have a location. So herein lies the problem. I think we ventured down this train always wanting the project to be next to the gymnasium because that's the natural place. It's next to Carver Middle, it's on Griffin, kids, it's easily accessible, the city already has a facility there. Here's the problem. When they redid the target area maps, target area is CDBG, community development block grants are required to benefit low to moderate income people in a community. They're in every community in the nation based on census tracts, based on income levels in those census tracts. What happened in our case was when the federal government redrew the census tracts, they did not include the gymnasium in the tract. Ken and I found this out, I don't know, 2 months ago. And so we started going to different locations. We went over to Berry Park, which is in the dish down here. Berry Park was in a flood zone, so CDBG started giving us trouble with that. Then we thought, okay, well, why don't we bring it to the other side of Carver Middle and put it at Dabney Pool. Dabney Pool was not a good location because I think there is the anticipation of eventually closing the Dabney Pool because of its age, but we can't close Dabney Pool until the new pool that's currently under design is built. So our estimate on that, the magic number, 3 years. So CDBG said, no, that's too long. This is, remember too, this is old CDBG money, meaning it was in a previous year's allocation. So they're antsy to spend it. So that's your CDBG. So long story short too, I think we approached Congressman Webster's office about this issue. Just some points that I would point out to you. This north point of Main Street, not in the district, that's a problem. This corner right here, Genesis Center was brought up today, not in the district. Faith World Church is in the district. So purple in, yellow out. Just, and I think the federal government on this one got it wrong, and we're in the process of fixing this, because some other points, Birchwood, right here in Season Street Park, some real problem areas that CDBG money could help out. That's not in the district. Over here, Shore Acres Drive, like one of the nicest communities on Lake Griffin, that is in the district. A big chunk of our Main Street not in the district, which should be. So that's the target area. I did, and I, you know, not to dissuade the conversation here, but I'm very concerned about how our target district is drawn. No matter where this topic goes, Ken and I have some work to do to make sure that this gets redrawn correctly. But in the interim, as I said, I did talk to Congressman Webster's office. Congressman Webster's office got with HUD. And Allison, I also had the conversations with Allison Thal at the county about this. And essentially what we did get was, and we're talking about acquisition and not construction, but if we do construct, I did get a letter from CDBG today that said that we could put it at the gymnasium site because the purpose is that it serves a constituents that would be 51% low to moderate. Now we'd have to survey that and all that, but then the letter goes on to say that really the county can make that determination. So if you do go back to construction, I'm going to say put it at the gym. If you go that way, but that's not the question tonight. You know, maybe we get there, but the question tonight is acquisition of a facility.
So I appreciate that, Al. I heard some comments, and I felt this group deserved to have all that background.
It's an important discussion.
So, having said that, I'll wrap it up pretty quickly. I'll make two comments, which are going to make half the room happy and half the room unhappy. I do want to slow this process down. Number one, I don't need to get long-winded on that. And I am a commercial realtor, a real estate professional. I reviewed the appraisal. I pulled some information myself. I'm not going to get too in-depth there, but I think we're overpaying, and I have a problem with the value.
Right,
so those are two reasons I want to slow it down.
And I just, in the spirit of full disclosure, let me talk to that on the appraisal, the issue with the appraisal, because I feel a little bit liable for where I headed, and I want to explain to the public why I went to where I went. We do several appraisals through the community. The biggest ones that we've done was the sale of the 470 property, where we used Larry King, and we also used Todd Barfield. We had to get an appraisal on that site to ensure that we were getting fair market value for that acquisition or that sale, and we had the EPA issue that was associated with it because we had to pay back fair market value of the property. Through that process, I got to know Todd, and I felt like Todd was a good appraiser because he knows Leesburg. I felt like he knew the market, but he's from Ocala, so he's not connected. So I felt like that gave him an unbiased approach of how to work in Leesburg. Knew the market, but didn't quite know the people. So I thought that was a good thing. I think I think Todd does good work. And then I'm going to contradict myself, not about Todd's work, but at the end. But on the appraisal, Todd used 3 comps. He used a comp at Tomato Hill of a church that sold for $78 a square foot, and I'm rounding the numbers. He used the church that the First Baptist Church bought on 13th Street. Is that where it is? It was off 13th. And they bought that for about $82 a square. Both of those sales were in March of 19. Then he used a comp in Lady Lake, which Church of the Springs, yep, and that was like $1.50 a square. So then he goes on in his methodology and he credits and discredits all the sales to make them comparables. And he increased the value of the local churches and he decreased the value of the churches. So instead of having a spread from $78 to $150, his spread changed to $90 to $135. He used an average mark. The sales were old, or a year old, so we added 3%, and then he came up with this number of $1.10 a square foot. So the argument is it $1.10, or which includes outside Lady Lake, or is it more Leesburg market? I will not answer that question. I think that's an opinion question for the commission to consider. But I do think the one really heavily weighted Lady Lake does skew the report. Now, having said all that, I haven't seen the report that Faith World did. They also did an appraisal. Their number back, our number back was 1 million, right on the schnoodle. Their appraisal was $1,020,000. Theirs isn't done. They got a verbal, and so I'm real interested to see the comps there. But I think that's when Commissioner Roebuck and Peterson talked about the appraisal. Those are the issues that I think you guys are grappling with.
And I did some analysis on it, but I don't want to get into that tonight. My last comment is I know this is important to Boys and Girls Club, and when I hear all the people here in the community, I want to see us all come together and be in agreement on this one at the end of the day. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Christian.
Well, thank you everyone for coming, and a lot of nice comments. Actually, no, this has been a project that when I first brought it to the commission, it came out of the Carver Heights community. It didn't come from Main Street, didn't come from East Leesburg. It came from Zion Hope Baptist Church to the resident sitting saying we got a problem with our teenagers. Now, we've been kind of flip-flopping back and forth between a teen center or a youth center. We always said a teen, even in your grant, it says Teen Enrichment Center. Now, I understand that many people, as Commissioner Roebuck said, don't come to these meetings on a regular basis. The same group came, it was 4 African-American led nonprofits who wanted to help their community. They came and challenged the commission to buy the Knights Columbus building for youth. So this is not new to the Carver Heights community, which is our redevelopment area. In a vision tour in St. Pete, one thing they talked about is if you're gonna revitalize your community, it has to be intentional. Means the city has to put resources in that community to revitalize it the proper way. So you talk about a teen center, youth center, and that same Knights Columbus building, we voted a couple months ago to give the Boys and Girls Club full use of that facility. So this commission has supported the Boys and Girls Club, teenagers, youth in our community. Whether they got 8 there, should have 100 because the Genesis Center just shut down with 100 kids that were calling my daycare center trying to find a spot. They shouldn't be finding a spot when we got a nonprofit ready to receive them. So we still have work to do. So before the paint dries, we are already talking about another facility. So I'm big. This has been a project that I hold true because growing up in Leesburg, there was not much for teenagers to do in our city. And we talk about location. I don't like to talk about where schools are located. I grew up 2 blocks from Main Street, right behind Faith World on Vine Street. In the Carver Heights community, there's 344 high schoolers. Got from Lake County school data. And Main Street, the Stock Subdivision High School, there's 265 high schoolers, 232 middle schoolers. Carver Heights, 285 middle schoolers. Elementaries, 583. Stock Subdivision, 606. 42 homeless kids in Carver Heights, 40 in Stock Subdivisions. So the numbers don't vary. So when we say location, you really got to push the data and find out where the children actually live. Goes back to location. Let's talk about location. You got a $3.5 million gymnasium, and we've talked about it. Commissioner Roebuck, I think, was adamant about city operation costs. We know that's an ongoing cost that will be there no matter how long that building's operational. But we also said that the city of Leesburg should have a hand in what happens at that facility to make sure the programs are implemented in that facility. Let me just say something. I'm a Boys and Girls Club guy. It was a boys club when I was there. The Keystone Club, 14 to 18. Career Launch, ages 13 to 18. Diplomas to degrees, 13 plus. RBI, 13 to 18. Money Matters, 13 to 18. Computer Science Pathway, UPS Road Driving, STEM programs. All of these are Boys and Girls Club programs designed for teenagers. So we're not saying they cannot do it. The issue has been, are they doing, and will this community make sure that it's being done? So we just gave a building 2 months ago. Why in the world we partner with the club until they show us we can do it in that building, Mr. Kane? So I have no problem. I'm sure he'll tell you, I welcome the challenge. So why are we now derailing what we've been going in this direction for the last 3 years? We got it in the agenda, 1.5 million. April 2nd, myself and Ken Thomas drove to DeVaries, sitting in front of Dottie Keating, who's the director then, and Allison Thal. I personally sold them on the vision of the teen center. Ken simply said, Pastor did all the talking. I didn't need to say nothing. They told us they had no money initially. Ken kept prodding. They came back and said, we got $820,000. That's where the 2.3 came from, plus the 1.5 makes 2.3. Now my question and my challenge, and I know Mike's a board member, when Al initially talked to the club, they had no money attached to the building of a new teen center. Am I right? Because it's not in the grant. If you look at the grant, city commitment 1.5, Aston County for 1 million. Now we have a $500,000. That would have been a $2.8 million facility that we could have designed. Even in modern education, the new theme is K-8 education. So to say we can't put teenagers on the same campus as elementary only means we have not designed a facility to accommodate teenagers in elementary school. Right. You go to First Baptist, they got high schoolers, they got middle, they got elementary, and maybe even some daycare kids. So it can be done if we put our heads together and decide, does Leesburg really want to make that level of commitment? Now the answer may be no. We may simply say we don't want to put 1.5. But my great city manager made a comment at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast. He said Leesburg has tucked away $20+ million. $20+ million. And we spent $13 million at Venetian Gardens. We're going to put $4.5 million on the east side of Leesburg. Carver Heights, $0. Wow. $20 million tucked away. So I think when we ask the question, location, we all are taxpayers, and we got an issue in the Carver Heights community, and we see now the same amount of kids in Carver Heights are at the high school and Stock subdivision. And Ms. Ruby was right. When it was on 44, the Boys Club picked up kids, rolled through our neighborhood, because those were the needs of Leesburg. But they hired staff. Marcus Knoblack, Alicia Brinson, Quentin Peoples, who drove the buses and picked up the kids because they could deal with them. Everybody can't deal with a 15-year-old African-American male, a 15-year-old white male, or white female, because you have to have special skills. Not that they don't have it, but you got to hire those people to deal with the segment of population that we have. Now, can they do it? I'm sure they can. Are they ready to do it right now? I doubt it, because they just got this new building 2 months ago. So I'm saying to this commission, who has fought for this project tooth and nail when I had no votes to support it, 0. I had to twist Roebuck's arm to get him. And he's, okay, John. I had to twist her. I had to twist Dennison. Okay, and Al is right. There was some contention, but I didn't think that they would say, let's not do it. I was under the assumption we was moving forward because we sent out the RFP and we graded. Why would you grade engineers if you're not going to build the building? So again, I'm saying to this commission, I'm imploring you, put the brakes on this. I simply say, if we're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. Don't do it at all. Don't do it at all. We have a facility. We have a facility on Griffin Road that services our kids. I rode by Carver Middle School this morning at 8:32. There were 25 kids outside the gate because their mommies and daddies don't have the luxury to get to work at 8:20. They have to be there at 7:45. So they drop their kids off at the front of the school. And I understand 50 more in our gymnasium because they're looking for someone to be before school. Imagine what happens. Fights, kissing, drug prep, whatever. We are saying we're concerned about kids, but we can't solve that problem. You don't need money to solve that problem, just need concern. And that's where I'm saying to our commission, please, let's get this one right. I heard Commissioner Peterson saying, let's get it right. We have a place for our kids right now. We got a building that we remodeled, almost 50,000 to remodel it. So we have a place for our kids. Our goal, and I think Commissioner Hurley would always say quality of life. When it came to community building, we can't remodel that building. We have to build new because the quality of life of our city. I think our now we got to figure out, is it teenagers or youth? Because I keep hearing that interchange, and that's confusing to me. Because if you go down this road and say youth, then you don't have to service teenagers. But if the need of the city is for teenagers, that's what we should do. And I don't know, maybe we didn't define that very well because we're now interchanging youth and teenagers. So this whole project started 4 or 5 years ago with teenagers in mind. Now we're talking about youth. I want to say, let's pull all this back and determine, first of all, what we're going to do. Are we building a teen center or building a boys and girls club? Whatever it's going to be, let's be on the same page. I believe we can design a facility, and people say, why the gymnasium? We got staff at the gym already. Can you imagine Marcus Not Black at the gymnasium, Brian Anachuk at the gymnasium, Travis Reamer? We don't need full-time, we can get part-time staff. Then if we partner with the Boys and Girls Club, because the city gonna help with operational costs, they take their $500,000, build a joint facility connected with the $2.3 million building. You got the parking lots already there. May need to expand it because there's already too many people at the gym anyway. So we need a better parking lot, but it won't be the cost of a new parking lot. That's why the location fits at the gymnasium, because you got a baseball complex right behind it. You got a trail right there. You got football. You have, in most large cities, the recreation complex is one big facility. Not all over the city is right there. When you go play baseball, your daughter's doing this over here, dance, and that's what we're talking about. Doing alternatives for our children, not just sports related. That's where the teen concept came from. Let's not derail it. And if we don't have the money, guess what you do in your personal bank account? If you don't have the money, you don't spend it. You save and come back at a later date and you build what the needs of your city. I want to walk in the teen center the same way I walk in the ignition center, my chest poked out. And those of you who are not here on a regular basis, I remember the boat ramp came up. I have no boat, have no desire for a boat. City manager recommends $500,000. We don't need a boat.
Actually, I did not recommend to do it.
You recommend not to do it?
I did
Not to do it. He recommended not to do it.
build
He
the
recommended
boat
not
ramp.
to do it. Exactly. He says we don't have the money for a $500,000 boat
No,
ramp.
I said we could spend that better elsewhere.
Okay,
The
same.
commission decided to recreate the
We had two people in the audience. I think Mr. Tom Guzar
I
came
voted
up
for
and
it.
said,
You did.
Right. Again,
Get to your
came
point.
to the commission and said, let's spend $500,000 for a boat ramp. Right? I don't have a boat, but I voted for it because it's bettering Leesburg. All I'm saying is, if you don't have the money to do it the right way, let's pause it and wait until we have the money to do it the right way. So that's what, and this is something I've been pushing. This is something that I think Leesburg needs, but I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to build anything where our children, our community has any reason to say it's a divisionary tactic. And trust me, Leesburg has had a bad past on being fair and equitable.
Amen.
Go back to 1985. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for a federal lawsuit.
Amen.
The CDC wouldn't be in existence but for a federal lawsuit. I think we've evolved to the point we can reason together, and as Spike Lee said at 89, just do the right thing. And doing the right thing is holding off, waiting, and getting this right. Trust me, the 1.5 is in the budget, and I'm sure we can cut some corners, and I'm sure as anything else we build, it's gonna go over. Al's gonna find, some engineer's gonna say he found some extra dirt he needed. So listen, we can't do this right. The county grant money, it'll be there. This is 18-19 money, I think. So they're already a year or two behind on the CDBG block grant money. So listen, let's get it right. And I'll tell you, I was literally disappointed in the fact that I'm thinking we're going down this road because we have worked with the community, we worked with the people in the community. Staff has been looking for sites we thought we could be good. We worked with NACP trying to do joint partnerships on that property. We've been working over a year trying to find a good location for this teen center in our redevelopment area. Someone said, why you built the resource center in Mount Clair? Because in the Carver Heights Redevelopment Agency, that money is paid for, $500,000 of it came from a grant. The other half the CRA pays for, which means it has to be built in that same community. So that's why it's there. And I think it's one of the best things we've done because we've put services throughout our city. Look, let's not act like we don't have issues. I got a call from the detective last week. Hey, John, gonna be a block party. We want you to be aware somewhere in Carver Heights may be a block party. Guess what? All we're doing is we're kicking the can down the road. We got an issue, but I want to make sure we do it right. If we don't do it right, Commission, please push this down the road and let's get it right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll respond.
Ladies?
Well, if you're gonna address it, I'll address it. I mean, I don't mind, because just like, my words are being used here today, I want to be sure that I make sure that we remember all the things that were said in these commission meetings when we're speaking to the public. When it comes to the Boys and Girls Club, there's been no doubt that this commission has spoke clearly and without reservation that we plan on servicing all ages. The Boys and Girls Club has made it crystal clear, even at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and the president is here, that they plan on programs for all ages. So quit this stuff about we're not going to take care of teenagers. They have a track record of proof of no teen pregnancies. The highest percentages of high school graduates, drug use, they're successful. That's what they are. They're successful at that. And that's a great thing to have them here partnering with us to be successful at that. Number two, why the now? Because the very people who want to pump the brakes now were the ones 4 months ago telling this commission every day, I'll never forget this, every day, every week, and every month that goes by, we lose another kid. I remember when you looked at us and said, we need to do this now, because right now we got kids who, if we wait 3 years, they'll be 18 and gone. They'll be from 13 to 16. They'll be from 9 to 12. And on it went about how important it was. Now listen, my issue here, we vote either way, and it works because this town and this commission is going to do what we can and what we think is best for Leesburg. So we're going to succeed, whether it's here, a new building now, 5 years from now, Taj Mahal, less than Taj Mahal, whatever we can do. This city and this community is going to be successful at doing something. But I just want to say that the only issue here, and you have my map, Ken? Yes. I'm tired of the whole play being done on this location thing. If we don't want to do it, it doesn't matter. Faith World can sell that to somebody else, and that's fine. That's not what this is. But don't tell me one side of Carver Heights is more important than the other, because that's baloney. The north side of Carver Heights is no more important than the south side of Carver Heights. And the west side of Carver Heights is no more important than the east side of Carver Heights. And just as a reminder of what encompasses the Carver Heights, it's Griffin Road and Main Street. You want to talk about there's 50 more high schoolers in Carver Heights, but then you want to move it all the way to the north side of Carver Heights, totally away from the 253 students that live in Stock. How does that make sense? That middle dot is Faith World. If you just keep going around, all the schools are there. It doesn't matter where they live, right? Or does it? Does it also matter where they spend 8 hours a day? Or does it not? Does it matter where they commute from? Or does it not? So I just want to say this. I didn't bring this up because I'm all wow, the church is the greatest thing. It's a fabulous building. It's got a great room, which is called the sanctuary. Everybody here knows what that is. It's got big kitchens and dining hall and youth centers and all that works. If the city wants to spend the extra money, then yes, that is the ability of the city. But don't take the charge, don't spin it, don't put it like this is some personal agenda. No, this was trying to reach those kids we were preaching about 4 months ago, and it was ability to save us some money as a community and get both. Get this and what else we could do with it.
Are you not going to support this if we put it in the Pentecostal church?
No.
So who are you hurting, the kids or the city? It's not gonna hurt me. You're hurting the kids.
Can I say something?
If you come up to the front, please.
My name is Patrick Russell, and I was born and raised here in Leesburg. I grew up on Pine Street, then I moved to Carver Heights. I'm listening to everyone saying what they're gonna do for our kids. When are we gonna stop depending on the city and the state and the government to do something for our kids that we can do for ourselves? I see all these teachers in here. I see landowners. We always, Special Baptist churches, knew how to raise money. When we gonna do it for ourselves and stop depending on them to do it? You got one man that's trying to do something for the community, but we fight against each other. I'm just telling the truth. We can build this community. We don't need them. This man right here was against the boys club one time. Talking about they was going out and spending money. Not all of a sudden, he for the boys club of America. I remember I saw him. I saw you fought against John Christian on the radio. On TV. But now all of a sudden, partner with the boys club. I grew up and raised in the boys club. My son did. They do not want to deal with teenagers. They can tell you they want to, just to get their foot in the door. And you said yourself, they was taking the money and going to get luxury hotels and doing this and that. You remember that?
No, listen, stay at the podium. No, you don't get that option. You don't get to come in here and say that. I want to engage with you respectfully because I do want to make answers, okay? Okay. So just give me and you 2 minutes.
All right.
I appreciate the fact that you brought that up, and I want to explain why. I served on that board for 10 years. I gave money. I gave of my time. I started working with the youth, going to gymnasiums when I was a police officer working the streets. I got involved with the Boys and Girls Club when I was a cop. I wanted kids to know that cops were not bad people that chased you up and down the road, but they were people that cared about you. But just look at me for a minute and listen to this. My integrity said that when a director who had come into there turned, you're going to tell me that every person who's ever said at this commission is perfect, every pastor you've ever seen preach is perfect? You and me both know that's a bunch of junk. People are fallible. People make mistakes. There are good people and there are bad people, and sometimes bad people get elevated into positions where they can make mistakes that affect everybody. When those positions got put into place and they had a director that went that wrong path, I left that board. And I didn't give them support because what they were doing was not right. When those people left and the board turned around and the board started doing the right thing, I supported them. I'll support this commission every time I feel that it's doing the right thing, and I'll vote no when I don't think it's the right thing. I'll support anybody when I think what they're doing is right. I'll support you. I'll support anybody here when they're doing the right thing. But just because somebody did leave, don't hold me to what happened in that little 10-minute deal and say now the Boys and Girls Club will never be good because there was a little spot on their record. There are people standing in this hall who gave their own money. Do you realize the Teeter unit was built free by the hands of this community and not by the city of Leesburg? Do you realize it was the Rob Englishes of the world? It was the Mr. Brookses of the world. It was Mr. Teeter of the world who gave their money, donated the land, and built that building, turned it over to the Boys and Girls Club, and it got ran in this community for 30 years? With a great track record till a bad person came in charge in the middle of a depression and took them down to the point where now they can't hardly serve 20 kids. How can you hold them accountable for what kind of program they can run when there's not room for 20 kids in the building?
That's the same thing Commissioner John Christian was trying to tell you back then, and you held them responsible.
What are you talking about?
Just like you just said, you can't put everything on the boys because of one person.
Yes, sir.
But you did.
Who? When?
You did.
Why?
Because you said when they came and tried to get a building, you gave them that building on Venetian Garden. When they wanted a building, that little tiny.
That's when he was there. That's when he was there. That's when he was there, and I resigned. I will not support that.
We're not talking about the Boys Club. I care less.
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
What I'm trying to do is find somewhere for our youth to go.
Okay.
And I'm not talking to y'all. I'm talking to my people.
Okay, raise the money and build it.
Okay, hold it. You address the commission or you sit down.
Okay. We don't need that building. I keep hearing Carver Heights, Main Street is Carver Heights. When was that considered Carver Heights? I grew up on Carver Heights on 2120 Wakeman Avenue.
Well, you tell me
was
the
that
district.
considered as Carver Heights?
No, I said
Beyond
it's the
that.
south side of Carver Heights.
We never had a call the south side of Carver Heights.
Well, there's a north, south, and east and west on anything bigger than a block.
All the problem was right there in the middle of Carver Heights.
Well, we can't build it. We're not building this in the middle of Carver Heights, sir.
I'm saying around the gym. You talking about on Main
The gym
Street.
is not in the middle of Carver Heights either, is it?
Okay,
I'm
please, we're gonna move on. Everybody says they want the kids to be able to take part and tell us what they want. Where are they? Why didn't you bring any kids tonight? I don't have kids.
The kids were here, they had to go outside.
Are they still here?
I don't know, it's getting late.
That's one right there. Jada Bedford is here.
Yeah, one person.
Sorry.
What I think the commission ought to do is bring some kids in here and see what their opinions are. Because everybody in here, we're all adults. We don't know what they're looking for.
That's right.
So my recommendation is y'all get some kids from off each area, Carver Heights, Crosstown, everybody that's gonna be affected. And y'all commissioners sit down and see what the kids want. Don't just corral them into a building that they're not gonna come to or be satisfied with. So the right thing to do is, we talking about kids, we not talking about adults. And I heard your number, Jay, about the pregnancy, but babies don't have babies. You gave an analysis about how many kids that the boys and girls could, how many girls hadn't had babies. Well, babies don't have babies. The only thing that they're keeping out at the Boys and Girls Club is babies now.
Sir, internationally,
There's no young kids coming out there.
Okay, we have a resolution on the floor. Somebody like to introduce that, or have we already done that?
We've already introduced and
I'd like to just to add some perspective to this conversation, because I think it's important for the commission to consider. I think we've done a good job the last 6 years of finding middle ground. And on this one, frankly, I don't know what the middle ground is. I have some ideas. I don't know if they're acceptable, but I think in this point, I think it's important to understand where we're at, why we're there, and figure out what the next step is, whatever that it could be. I think there's an obvious miscommunication amongst us, the commission, myself as your manager included, on what the definition of teen center is. I think from Commissioner Christian's perspective, teen center was more specific, 13 to 18.
Teenagers.
I think from Commissioner Hurley's perspective, teen center was inclusive of all of that. I think there was, hold on, Commissioner. I think there was some misconception on how we move forward with this goal. Do we partner with another agency? Do we manage it ourselves? That brought in the Boys and Girls Club concept. And I think also, I think the lesson learned too is a little bit of some disappointment from the African American community on revamping versus remodeling, and I understand that perspective and how that's perceived, and that's not a good perception. Those were my points. How do we fix that moving forward? I think the commission needs to consider where you want to go with this teen center concept. I will say there is an allocation in the budget. And as sure as there is an allocation in the budget, we've been talking biblically here, so I'll use this analogy. The budget's not a Bible. The budget is a guide, and it changes all the time. Look at the federal government. It's probably not a great example, but the budget is a guide. It's a plan, and it constantly changes. And I can understand the goal and the happiness that comes from, we got something in the budget, it's going to be done, but that doesn't necessarily always mean we're there until the check's written. So there was an allocation in the budget, but again, I'll go back to the 5 different perspectives on how that number got in the budget. And as your manager trying to bring together consensus, yeah, I went down that track because that's where Commissioner Christian was headed. But I informed each and every one of you, we've had conversations that the rubber's going to hit the road when the RFQ comes, and we got to start writing checks, because then Commissioner Roebuck's going to start yelling. So I'm not throwing anybody in the bus. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But as your manager, I'm paid to weave all 5 of you together, and we've done a pretty good job of it until this topic. So I think there's a couple, and so from my perspective, and I can understand Commissioner Hurley's perspective of the faith world seemed like a win-win. It seemed to get the goal. It seemed to save money. It also was perceived poorly. Understood. So that brings the question back to us. Where does this body want to go? And I think you got like 3 choices. There's multiple choices, but the obvious ones are, if you don't buy this facility this evening, you need to give me some direction on where you want to go. Kick the can down the road and don't think about it for a while and deactivate the money? Or do you want me to go down the road of a teen center? Now, if we go down the road of the teen center, we don't have a needs assessment. We don't have an operational plan. The majority of this commission was saying, let's do it with Boys and Girls Club. The minority of the commission is saying, let's go it alone.
No.
That minority being you,
No,
John.
no.
I don't.
no.
I had the voices I had were louder. Partner with Boys and Girls Club. I understand your perspective.
No, I think the last perspective, I think even Commissioner Roebuck said the city should have some part in the parts for the Boys and Girls Club. Because even in the grant, I'm there with the county. I'm telling Allison Thal, can correct me. Allison said, what about the middle school kids? And we said, that's why it's in the grant. The Boys and Girls Club would handle the middle schoolers and the small. So don't say I said that. I was there selling it to the county staff. Now whether it's relayed back, but that's in the grant application. So my thought was the city would have some input in the program, because we got a lot of great teenage programs for the Boys and Girls Club. So my recommendation was, if the Boys and Girls Club is going to be our partner, $500,000 should have been included when we talked about building. We're comparing apples to boxes. We don't know what a new teen center looks like. You expecting us to buy a 60-year-old building, and we have no idea what a $2.8 million teen center looks like. How do I know if I want to spend 1.5? If the Boys and Girls are going to be our partner, we should have a needs assessment. They should be at the table initially, because when you met with them in June or July, they weren't no parts to building a new facility. So we're
No, that's not correct.
Oh,
They want. What I quoted was they wanted to dictate to us how we build it.
Okay, there you go.
That doesn't mean they didn't want part in it. They wanted our money. They wanted us to help them, but they also wanted to dictate how it gets done to fit their model. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Well, I don't either.
That's like dealing with a lot of things.
But if you give me $500,000, I'm giving $2.3 million. You don't dictate how I spend my money. That's not a partnership. That's a minority stakeholder. So again, that's where the needs assessment come in. What are the needs of Carver Heights? So I think there should be more discussion with the city and the Boys and Girls Club, because here in Fayetteville, they're going to do operational. Will they do the operation of a new teen center? We're not even comparing a new teen center with a full Boys and Girls Club partnership, city staff overseeing the programming, or buying the Faith Center. I think we missed a couple steps going down this road that we didn't get a clear understanding of what partnership was, so we could compare buying a building or building a new building. I think if you showed us all what does a new teen center looks like, what the actual cost was, who our partners are, is there a need for it, as compared to say, but let's rush and buy one building, and you said we have no needs assessment. For me, I think we should say as a commission, let's go make these steps reality. We all know what we're actually voting on, because to be honest, I don't know if we even know what we're voting on except buying a building, and we don't know if the county's going to say your CDBG block grant is approved, and per the conditions it said this contract may be canceled if the money doesn't come. So we're not
That
saying.
gives you option though. That's-
But again, but you're having us to vote on the fact that we're going to save 1.5 million, and we go into contract and give us an option. Now we almost stuck to say now we got to spend city funds because we're not going to stand in front of these people and say we're not going to do it now because Faith World has taken their property off the market going down this road. The county says you don't get the CDBG block grant money. And so now we're saying, do we pay the 1 million out of city funds, which I also say think the appraisal's kind of high, very high. So that's just another issue. That's what I'm thinking. We're going too fast, and we need to slow down, and we need to make sure all our I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I just don't think we met that threshold where we should be voting on one thing without even seeing what a new teen center looks like.
Okay, I cannot enter a resolution. Do we have a resolution to withdraw this proposal?
Can I
We seem
ask
to
a
be
question?
pretty far apart, yes.
So, based on what those two are talking about, should we not, between us right now, discuss kind of what, in other words, all I'm trying to say is for Faith World, obviously, they kind of probably need a little idea or direction where we're headed. So, we need to at least come up with a discussion of, I think it was you that said, you had some questions about the appraisal. One of y'all said something about that. So I think the discussion real quick should be what steps we want to go. Like, we want to walk totally away from Faith World and just say, forget it. We're interested in the building, but would like to see at different price points an option, if that might be at a later date an option. So they, what I'm saying?
I was getting there. So just let me throw some options out because I think you guys need to have a little more discussion before you vote. So based on how you vote, we've got some direction on where we're going to go forward. So just hear me out. Let me throw some options at you. Option number one, buy the facility. The premise of buy the facility is to partner with the Boys and Girls Club, buy it, use Boys and Girls Club money to offset our capital costs so that then we can take our capital costs and shift it to other places in the community and argue later about where we spend $1.5 million plus some other monies. That's option number one. Option number two is, okay, we like that concept, but we think the contract is overpriced. Counter offer. Option number three, we totally hate the purchase concept of Faith World, and we don't want to do it, and do the project right or don't do it. If that's the course of action, then the next things need to happen. A, what are you going to do with the grant encumbrance? Do we let the grant money go away too? Or do we decide this evening and have a hard conversation about if we build a facility, a new one, is maybe then we go back and partner with Boys and Girls Club, build a new facility and partner with Boys and Girls Club? Or do we partner with the new facility and then how do we manage that? So that question's got to get talked about. And then, that conversation has the off-spin of the $825,000 grant money. So I don't want to beat this up, but I want to give you some examples. So for example, we're going to partner with Boys and Girls Club and build a new facility. By January 31, we've got to have a location. We can pick that tonight, whether it's buy a church or whether it's go to the gym. And you can use the grant money whether you're going to build or whether you're going to acquire. But we have to have that answer by the 31st. So there was about 4 options.
Well, I don't think, I said it before, I think we need to slow it down. So, we have one more meeting before a month end. I don't think we can make a decision that fast, but I'm not ready to make a decision tonight. I'm not going to support the contract tonight.
Dan?
I think I was I need extended diligence. I need a needs study, which I would hope we get. No matter what we do tonight, we could at least agree to tell Al go do a needs study, because that no matter what we do, we need that. And that I'm not the price for me is lower than $1 million.
Commissioner?
So as far as the price, that's between, that would be, we'd have to make a proposal and Faith World would have to make a call whether they would accept it. So, whether they get $1 million or 900 or whatever. I mean, I certainly don't have any disagreements with Commissioner Roebuck as far as doing the needs assessment, as far as, and we're talking about needs assessment for the programming and things needed in the.
And the location.
Yeah.
And the location. Like if we're gonna spend money on a new building, I don't know that I should be the one saying that the gym is the right location. When Commissioner Christian brought some data, I want to see data and make sure it makes sense. It seems like it does, but.
So yes, I support Faith World first off at whatever price it ends up being, right and fair. I think that it does it now. I think that it's a good location, and I think that it works. A while ago we said maybe we need a building that's, I don't know, everybody keeps saying you can't put them all together, you know, maybe we need two, I don't know. But yes, I obviously wouldn't have recommended if I didn't think it was a good idea.
Thank you. Commissioner Christian.
Yeah, well, I don't support the contract. I think the city has a couple things that we need to do. Not just needs assessment. We're talking about location again. I think we need to determine if we say gymnasium, why the gymnasium, if we're saying Main Street, why Main Street, have some hard facts, and I think staff should be the one that would do that without the interference of commissioners. We got educators out there who are skilled in this, who know the community, and I think it should be a committee of people who were not just Carver Heights, because we're talking about other areas of our city, that we get people together, and with the Boys and Girls Club, I think they're a vital part of what we do. But I think you can't go into a partnership with everybody not understanding their role, and I think that's where I have a major problem, that everybody does not know their role. We had discussion. We talked about a couple city staff members doing the team part, the Boys and Girls Club doing everything else. But that was, again, just kind of hodgepodge. There's nothing in writing, and we have nothing. And my biggest issue, we have nothing to compare. We are a skilled city. We have engineers. We have on contract. Someone could have put together a footprint on what a teen center looks like. Is it worth it? Comparing it to another facility, who's to say Faith World is the best location? You know, maybe I can talk to my dad, and he may sell his church for $1 million. I mean, you might be able to buy my church. You know, so again, I think it was kind of unfair that because we never decided, we didn't go to the Recreation Authority Board. No one said we were going to move from new to purchase, and so I just think it's unfair to the commissioner, myself, who worked diligently to put this whole concept together when others didn't even believe in it. So we can talk about children all day long. We can talk about, you know, we started Men of Distinction in 1997 because then Boys and Girls Club directors told me to my face that he didn't deal with teenagers. That's why Men of Distinction was started in our city, to deal with teenagers who the Boys and Girls Club, for whatever reason, I mean, he said that we give them to the high school, so what if they don't play sports? So that's why Men of Distinction was started in the city of Leesburg. Now I know across the country, there are great team programs that I read. So again, if the city of Leesburg has to support financially, the Boys and Girls Club putting on these programs, money matters, the diploma to degree, if that's what we got to do, I think then that becomes another whole partnership that we talked about. But guess what? We haven't even had this conversation with our major partner. So we're talking about buying a building, and we're saying, hey, let's buy it, and then we do the partnership. Well, the partnership should come before you buy a building, build a building. I mean, that's what the community say we need it. So now we're saying we need a needs assessment. Let's get one. I mean, we hire consultants for everything else. We probably have staff that can do a needs assessment to come back and tell us there's a great need. I can encourage you. Go out either on South Street or Griffin Road between 2:30, 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and you'll see 100+ kids walking down the road. Elementary, middle school kids walking down Griffin Road or South Street. You'll see them. So for me, that's a need study, because I got kids going home alone. I got kids. I mean, we can talk about teen pregnancy, but if they're not in our programs, they're not on our stat roll. And I can guarantee you, there are a lot of kids who are not going to the Boys and Girls Club. They're not coming to my church. They're not coming to your church. They're standing on the streets. They're not playing baseball. You're not coaching them. And we have to be aggressive in getting them. The Genesis Center, 100 kids now have no place to go. So again, there should have been some continuity between Pastor Scruggs and the Boys and Girls Club. Hey, I got 100 kids I'm sending your way. And so that's a whole nother project, getting our youth workers to work together. We got too many programs working, but they're not. We found out at the Resource Center. Lake Community Action showed up. They're doing a parenting class. Kids Central doing a parenting class. They weren't even working together. We got two programs who say they don't have money doing the identical program. So I think the city could facilitate these programs that we're talking about our kids. And I'm not talking about let's cut back $1.5 million. And I'm thinking if we got the money, let's spend it. Dan, if we got the money, let's spend it. And if we don't have the money, let's save it until we get it, so that we can do it the right way. But I think we missed a couple steps. And my proposal would be to simply hold this off. Let's make these steps happen. Whether Faith World is available 6 months from now, whether we build a gymnasium 6 months from now, in a new teen center 6 months from now, we should be able to make a guess. And the county's grant money, we're part of that program. We can always rewrite another grant for the county. It took us 2 years to get this money, and it was a fight to get it.
And just, I think it's important to add this, and we haven't said this all night, but this is the discussion that this body needs to have. The question is not the capital money. It's never been the capital money. So I accept all the accolades that everybody gave me about pulling rabbits out of my hat. But that's capital money. And we're very good at shifting around capital money. The question, your concept of a teen center run by the city, I can find you capital money all day long. I can find you $3 million right now, Commissioner, and I can, no grant money, nothing. And I can build you a teen center right now. Now, there'll be some sacrifices, there'll be some other cuts, and it's shifting the financial blocks. We talk about all that at the time, but the core of this issue, your issue, is operational costs.
Right.
Now, that's $250,000 a year in perpetuity, or until the recession happens, another one, and then we start looking at what to cut, and then that's the commitment.
I think this group here is in agreement that the private sector and nonprofit world can run this better than the
This
city.
group
No,
or that
this
group?
group.
That group. I don't. Show of hands. Does everybody in the audience think that it should be a city-run teen center or a private sector?
And again, let me be very clear. I did not say city run. I said city hire some part-time, if it's at the gym, part-time staff that we already have. They already run our basketball program. They already run our Smart Starts program. We have kids, Corey, Jefferson. We have guys right now, PJ Foster, that run our part-time program with no city benefits. They come in the afternoon, they run our basketball programs. We got Brian, Marcus, they're our city staff that we're gonna have whether we build a teen center or not. They can oversee it, and that's the benefit of being at the gymnasium, because they're not having to go across town to oversee a program. So again, that's the pros and cons of the location. Why do we put it? So not a city-run facility. City hire part-time staff, partner with the Boys and Girls Club. They run the other staff. So the same way they're gonna operational costs for this facility, the same name, operational costs for the new teen center. But again, that has not been proposed to this body, that a new teen center would be partially operated by the Boys and Girls Club. So you told me you can get $3 million.
No, and there is, look, Commissioner, we have given you a teen center budget, okay? You have seen a teen center budget. You have seen a teen center concept, and you have seen memos between me and the Boys and Girls Club on all these issues. The one that you just mentioned about we do part, they do part, that was given back to the Boys and Girls Club back in June or April of this year, and they didn't want to do it. Maybe we go back and we have that conversation with again, maybe that's turned, but the input from Boys and Girls Club on that issue was, if they're building a brand new facility, they want input in design and operation.
Oh yeah, I think that's fair.
And the difference with the Faith World issue is that's a facility where we're partnering, we're basically helping them facilitate a purchase and then turning it over to them. So in essence, what they would be getting at Faith World is what they would be getting in a new facility, except it's a purchase one instead of a new one. It works for them, it saves us money. I understand you don't like it, I get it, but I'm describing differences here on where we're at. Travis, and I will take a little exception and caution you that if we put a $3 million investment into a capital facility, I don't think you want to turn it over to part-time staff. I do agree that there's some efficiencies if we put it at the gym with existing staff, but Travis, your budget was $250. That may have been a little higher, a little low. 3? 150. And about
going down,
60
Travis.
of it was
60 with staff.
60 was staff. And that's like 2 people?
One full-time, one part.
There you go. So we're not crazy out of the ballpark, and I stand corrected again. My number was high. It's $150 in perpetuity, not $250.
Which is the equivalent of like a $4 million donation. That's the math. So like
30
if they
years?
want,
Is that 30 years? Yeah, $150 is 30
yeah,
years.
it's an annuity. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
And that'd be only for the team portion, so if the Boys and Girls Club operated the other portion, then maybe we could do some joint staffing. But I think, again, that's where I think the conversation should be had when we come back with everybody have an understanding. We are able to say new operational, youth facility operational, what is the city willing to contribute to do a need of our city? And I think we're not there yet. I don't think we have those options. What a new facility even look. I don't even know what a teen center looks like. What does a new teen center look like?
We're not going to resolve this tonight, so I really think that we've got to step back. We've got to come up with this information, okay? We've got to do the needs study and find out what needs to be put into this and whether it's going to be purchased or built. And
Can I make a motion?
before you do, we had originally said the teen center was going to be at the gym.
Amen. Amen.
So yes, you can make a motion.
I just think, like you said, we're not going to resolve this tonight. I'd like to make a motion to withdraw this resolution, whatever the proper
second on
terminology
that?
is.
I second it.
Thank you.
What does, if we resolve it, what does that do? Bring it back.
Brings us back.
Basically tables it.
Back, it tables
No,
it.
you withdraw is like,
That kills
might as
it.
well vote no.
Well, I'm the newest commissioner. I'm still learning all the lingo. I'm basically trying to delay it, table it, whatever the proper lingo is. We're not going to resolve this tonight, and we're not, I just want to get a vote on this contract one way or the other.
Then I wouldn't table it. I would-
You want us to vote?
I would.
You want to vote
I
on the
wouldn't-
contract as
Yeah,
is.
if you vote it down, that
Then
doesn't
it's
mean you
done.
can't go back and renegotiate a price if that's
Okay.
what you want to do. It's just, is this
All right.
contract that's on the table today for $1,010,000 is either up or down,
Okay. So
based
So we're
on the
voting
terms that
on
are in the contract.
Contract right now.
So make a motion to vote on this contract.
It's already on
It's
the
already on the
floor.
table.
You need to withdraw your motion to
Withdraw.
I'll withdraw my motion to withdraw this resolution. I'm learning.
Does he need a second for that?
You had a second.
I withdraw my
John
second.
Christian.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you. Roll call.
And now there is a motion on the floor for the contract.
that's correct. That's what we're
So
voting
I'm
on.
going to make a motion.
There's
to
a motion
table
on the floor for the contract, so we're about to vote yes or no on
Commissioner
that.
Hurley just made a motion to table, which takes precedent over anything right now.
Okay, so we're not going to vote.
No, you got to vote on
On the
table.
motion to table.
Is there a second on that?
Until we get discussion.
second. I mean, I guess it's just what we haven't determined, which I think, to Commissioner Hurley's point, is fair to Faith World, is that I think it's clear that Commissioner Christian is no on Faith World probably in any scenario. I think Commissioner Hurley is yes in almost every scenario. I'm yes in a limited amount of scenarios that I've outlined, but we don't know where the mayor and Commissioner Peterson are, and I think we need to let them know. So if there's a scenario where you see approving the contract or not with modifications, so they know whether to waste their time with us or not. Not that you want to approve it now, but is there a scenario and what type of
No,
things?
I respect that comment, and, I'll be consistent here and say I want to, delay this, slow it down. So out of fairness to Faith World, whatever, I just want to withdraw it, table it. I don't want to mislead Faith World.
Okay.
I mean, I want to
Is
take
there
the
a price
contract.
though? If we countered Faith World at a price that you think is a market-driven price, would that get you interested in the purchase?
But I'd like to have the right to talk. Yeah, we can talk about that another day, and maybe do some homework outside this
So I
meeting.
think they want to table it.
So you're
till
not
a later
no
time.
indefinitely, but you're no right
The
now.
motion and
Motion to
second
table,
is
right?
on the floor to
Gotta
table.
vote on it.
so.
All right. We have a motion on the floor to table this. Everybody ready?
Yes.
Roll call.
Commissioner Roebuck,
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christian,
No.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Mayor Dennison.
Yes. All right, what just happened, this is being tabled so that we can bring back and discuss what the options are, what the needs assessment are, it's not going to be solved tonight. So this will give the city more time to go ahead and investigate this.
Are we bringing back a concept of a new teen center?
I
it
will
on the-
take direction
on the
of the
agenda,
commission on how you want me to approach that.
I would like to see
My
what-
vote is, I mean, I guess, y'all, I've been consistent saying delay this. I want to look at any and all options. So even though I supported tabling this contract, we're not going to resolve this in 2 weeks, and I do want to look at any and all options. And I'm sorry, I feel bad saying that to Faith World, but
Yeah, I would like a budget number from a contractor on a new one,
Okay.
right? Because right now we don't know.
I don't even know what size building we're talking about if we built one. I mean,
But you should be able to get that without paying any money.
Just so everybody's clear, what I will bring you a purchase option, a purchase. I better write this down. I'll bring you a purchase option where we run a facility. I will bring you a purchase option where an outside organization runs a facility. I will bring you a a build, so you got acquisition/purchase synonyms, and then I will do a concept where we build new and we run it, and we build new and somebody else runs it.
Remember, we still need a needs assessment.
Okay, there's four issues there. I got you.
Thank you.
On your needs assessment, let me just throw this out at you. If we do a needs assessment, I'm on the assumption you want a consultant to do a needs assessment. So that's an RFQ. That's RFQ is going to take 90 days to get it hired. Then you're looking at 6 months to do a needs assessment. So you're looking at 9 months to a year to get a final needs assessment. I point to the Main Street master plan as a similar process. We might be able to be a little bit faster. If you go needs assessment, then you will lose the grant money. To keep the grant money 8 1/4, we need to have a decision by the 31st. Now that's not threatening, that's not.
Internal numbers together? I mean, I know Commissioner Christian already pulled some
And we
numbers.
can,
I'm sure
I
the Boys
can,
and Girls
I
Club has
think,
data.
I think that we can give you a good scenario of these 4 options next week.
I want to know where kids live.
Well, I mean, and I hear with the rush of needs assessment, but I think we need to do it right. And now whether you go full blown consultant, but I think we need to hire people that we don't get scrutinized by our community and think that we skewed our numbers. So
Yeah, I think if you do a needs assessment, you need to hire an outside agency,
Yeah.
and you need to go through the entire process. You need to do the RFQ. We need to interview. We need to recommend. We need to do
how much
that.
you think that'll cost?
50 to 100 grand.
Oh, boy.
And what I would do then is I would take the allocation that's in the CRA, the Carver Heights CRA that we have right now. I think we got 78, 75 for a design consultant. I would take that money and allocate it to the needs assessment. And that's probably.
Yeah, I'll just throw this in because Gary Kane's in the audience, the president of Boys and Girls Club, and I would think they could help us here with this in some form or fashion. And I know we're looking at all different options. I just mean as far as size building.
I talked to Gary about that. Okay. I would, but in the interim, I think my take on Boys and Girls Club is they were excited about the Faith World opportunity. I think they recognized there were challenges. I think they'd be a good partner, and I also think they feel like they do have some ground to make up.
Well, all I meant was they built teen centers. They don't have a building, so they can add some value.
But I also think, in my conversations with Boys and Girls Club, they want to make sure that this commission is unified behind them, all of it. And they want to make sure that the community is unified behind them. And so I think for now, they're happy with our arrangement at the KOC building. They're dedicated to that. And I think they'll be a good partner if something changes from that. So I think we can come back and forth to the Boys and Girls Club or wherever. And I said that Gary was nodding his head. So I think I speak directly for them. So I'm walking out of this meeting with these 4 points and the need for a needs assessment. And just my final point on that is if we do the needs assessment, by the end of the month, we'll need to notify the county and let the grant money go. Now, I do want to say this. As sure as I recommended to you that I thought we could do a budget narrative to change from build to acquisition and still be okay with the grant money. I feel confident that, I feel the same amount of confidence that nobody likes to let a $825,000 grant go, but I also feel confident that Leesburg has the stature to reacquire and apply for that money back in July when that window opens again. So, and remember that money, and what's driving the county on that, in good, bad, indifferent, is that federal money has those spending guidelines, and if they don't see it's getting spent, they got to get back through their process to get that spent. So, I know what you're thinking, Mr. Peterson.
I'm gonna be quiet.
So just, I want you to be informed with the decision that you make. And so,
being informed though, just answer this question, but we need to give faith. I mean, if we're talking about, we're going to do all these things before we make a decision on a purchase or a build, we're looking at a year. Well, there ain't no sense in having a conversation with Faith World.
no, I think what I'm hearing from you is I'm going to bring you more information on the 25th, or is it 25th or the 23rd? 27. I'll bring you more information on the 27th and we'll beat it up some more. That's what I'm hearing from you.
I can see, depending on where we go, we might decide that the needs assessment isn't about the building, but it's about programming and what we need for a building, whether it's an acquisition or a new building. I think depending on what we decide with those options, that might change the needs assessment.
You're talking about the location too. We're gonna talk about location.
Yeah.
And that's part of what Al's gonna do in his needs assessment is the location, pro and con.
Look, I'm not going to be able next week to tell you where to put this facility. You know,
I don't think we'll be ready in 2 weeks or by a month in.
I don't think so.
And I still think we shouldn't rush. I mean, I just still think we shouldn't rush. I think we waited this long. We dug down. We bounced around. We looked for a location for almost a year. So I don't think we take 2 weeks and just say, let's do whatever. I think we need to make sure we get this right. We got a partner back there that's already in the city facility that we just gave, that they're working fine, filling that building up. So I think we got time. I don't think it's a rush.
I'm going to be just crystal clear on this because it hasn't been said, but I'm still feeling this from this commission, from this body. You guys don't know what you want. You have Commissioner Christian loud and clear saying that he wants to build a teen center for the community for kids from 13 to 18, and he wants the city to run it. That's what Commissioner Christian wants. That's what he's pushing for. This side of the table has not committed to that. Okay, so the decision has to be made. Do we want that vision? And if you guys don't, then you guys need to say that.
Well, can I just add? I think I said it 3 times.
And so
I said it 3 times. City runs a team portion with 1.5 staff, and we partner with the Boys and Girls Club for the remainder. That doesn't mean a city-run fully facility.
Okay, and
so that's a partnership.
Okay,
right? Say that.
No, it's not. It's not a partnership, and I say this because what you just said is still costing me $1.5 million and $1.50 a year, plus the Boys and Girls Club. So, because we're hitting 2 different things. So I hear what you're saying, because what you're saying is Boys and Girls Club is doing the kids, we're doing the older kids. Mm-hmm. But I'm still spending $1.5 million in capital costs, and I'm still encumbering $150,000 a year in operation costs.
Okay.
And maybe it needs that. I don't know. But this group hasn't said that.
And that's what
I see what you're saying.
And that's what it needs.
So we're saying the same thing. So
I've said very clearly that you might get me on board with the facility, right? Like I'm not a no on the facility. I am a no on the city running it. So that's right.
With no staff, not even a part-time.
Part-time maybe being involved, but run all the teens, no.
This is the crux of why we are here tonight, because we haven't collectively decided, are we running it or are we tossing the keys out?
And again, I think tonight we heard for the first time it will cost $150,000 for the city to run.
That's wrong.
We said 250.
Okay, I run a $160 million budget for you. I missed it by 100.
I know, but this is a big topic tonight.
And we talked about it at workshops. We've talked about this a lot publicly. With budget
so
numbers.
150 was what the city cost, because you said the capital is not an issue. So again, we still here saying we're saying building a brand new facility, and we turn the keys over to the Boys and Girls Club to run everything. 5 years ago, we were sitting saying, hey, Boys and Girls Club, we need more, we want more. We had no control except we gave them a lease of the building. So again, we're simply saying tonight we're gonna buy $1.5 million, well, maybe $3.3 million building, and say to a partner, here's the keys. And and for me, I think that's not fair to the community. That's not fair to the taxpayers, that we're simply saying to our partner who we just gave a building to 2 months ago, here's another building and here's the keys. I just don't think that's fair. I think we have not had that type of discussion. So we talked what we talked about. We talked about, I think, December 12, 13, we're gonna buy a new building. So a month, after about 5 years, we go 1 month. We change the whole course, and maybe 3 hours of conversation. So I just don't think we're ready for that, and it's not about me against the rest of the commission. So don't try to divide us.
That was not a division, but you can clearly see where there's not the collective decision.
One of the reasons I wanted to table it or delay it, whatever you want to say, is I wanted the community in agreement on this, and we're not there. Maybe the city I heard one gentleman say, I heard a lot of things. One good comment I heard was, let the churches and nonprofits do this, let the city donate to them. He didn't say that, but he said let the nonprofit, he challenged the churches to do it. I mean, to hear us discuss, I don't even know if we need to be in the teen center business. I mean, we can't even make a decision up here.
And I'm fine at this point that we say, if we're not gonna do it the right way, just let's not do it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being a little bit smart here, but I mean, I did hear a gentleman say that, and there might be some logic to letting them do it, and we just donate to those groups and let them do it. But
Well, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm appalled at the statements that. No, sir. Just a minute, please. Just one moment. Just one moment.
I've been sitting here for 3 hours, and I want to know, have you had a session like this before? I mean, do you get together on it? Because I've been away for years, though. I mean, I'm not involved in anything after 25 years. So I think I deserve that. But I'm lucky going here and over here. Some of the things should have been decided by, man.
Well,
bring it into people. I think they came in. I just heard about it. I want to know why. I didn't know much about it. I'm a reader. I listen to good stuff.
well, this is where the sunshine law hurts us, because we can't talk among ourselves except right here at this meeting. And I'll just go on the record and say that.
Nobody can put it out, so to speak. I heard from NAACP. I got a letter. Be here. I ain't been nowhere recently. But I came at night. But then I'm sitting the back and forth and that should have been handled some time ago. If you want people to come to make a decision, to help you make a decision, I guess, because you couldn't do it by what I've heard tonight. And besides, Boys and Girls Club made an advancement. I used to be a member of the Boys Club back in 1980, and it didn't have girls in it at that time. So that was a step forward. I've been here almost, if I can make it next month, I would have been in Lee for 88 years. So I've been, and my brain is still pretty good. But I've just kind of distracted a little bit. All of this discourse going on now, like some of the things would have already been, decided upon. So you got people here that you can make a real decision. But it sounds like you're on just first base.
So to finish my statement, what I was talking about was, and I'm glad that the press is here and we video this, but if we are going to take this, and everybody keeps making this stance and this statement, that if we're not going to do it right, let's don't do it at all. That's what I keep hearing. I just want to know who the judge is of what's right. I just want to know who in this group of 5 gets to decide what's right. We got staff, we got partners, and we got 5 of us. And I just want to know who depicts what's the right level of service. Because it does come down to money, it does come down to personnel, it does come down to programs. Just like with a church, you can take a building in any place you want to, Rev, right? You put a pastor in there, it'll go shoo, same building, same location, put a different pastor in there, wow, shoop, it goes straight up. Because there are things besides the structure of the building that make the difference. So I'm just saying, all I'm asking for here is, I'm good with tabling this, and I'm good with discussing what our best option is, but I'm getting tired of hearing, if we ain't gonna get it one way, let's just scratch it and forget it and walk away, because that's appalling to me.
Okay, we have a vote saying that we're going to table this, and I think we ought to go ahead, table it, come back with the information on the 27th, just so you all know, and discuss it further.
And we need to look at having it probably at the community center.
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Okay. We'll schedule the meeting for the 27th at the community center.
The meeting at on the 27th will be at the community center. Okay, so we won't be all as crowded in here.
Should I say something a minute?
Yes.
One thing I didn't hear is the amount of money it's gonna cost to bring Fayetteville up the parts of what we need.
$250,000.
$250,000.
$250,000.
And they're asking for $1 million.
That's correct.
So this is something we don't know, and I pointed out we would find out if we got a contract. None of us know. We don't have any idea. It could be $30,000. It could be $1 million. We could need a whole new roof.
That's the truest statement.
Well,
the roof
that's
is
it.
brand new, and it's a metal roof, and it's not a flat roof. I can tell you that because I helped.
Okay,
put it on.
moving along.
Please,
Oh,
because
now
I need a
yes.
break and a little
You
room.
put it on these roofs.
All right, gentlemen, please.
I appreciate this discussion, but can I just point out something about a needs assessment? I have done those all over the country for universities and school systems. But let me just make this point. A needs assessment, whoever you get to do it, will inform all of these decisions. I hear you like the point of having a needs assessment, but you still want to get purchase a new building. A needs assessment will tell you whether you need a vehicle. So you don't need to go purchasing nothing, building nothing, until you do a needs assessment. Let me tell you something about that. It does not take that long for a dynamic consultant to do a needs assessment. Let me tell you what they should be doing. They should develop focus groups for the Carver Heights area, whatever population you choose. Focus groups of students, focus groups of parents, focus groups of school system personnel. That consultant should be able to take all those data and give it back to this commission. And it does not take that long, I promise you. They should be able to do that. This is not a large district. We're talking 44,000 students. Archipelago was the fourth largest school district when I did that district. So we can get somebody, I'm sure, to do it expeditiously and do an excellent job. But it will inform programs, services, location, and all of that. And that person should be able to do that. And then it will tell us whether or not we really need it or we don't need it. Personally, I say we need it, but I'm a researcher. I have squat for data. I don't know. Until we get the data, then we shouldn't be buying, building, or nothing until we get the data. The data will inform our decisions, and then that way we can say we made an excellent decision based on the data. And it would not be subject to people's feelings, but the data would show for itself. And we'd say, we don't need this, we don't need that, but we do need this, and here's how we're gonna go about it. Those services and those programs must inform the size of the building. You know, I had a performing arts center right here in Lee Center, Lee Road. Okay, so Lee Street. So if you need humanities and fine arts, if kids are gonna do music, art, drama, dance, you need a stage. You need a room for this, you need a room for that. So if you just start buying stuff and you don't know all of that before you start buying it or building it, then we're gonna be retrofitting and fixing up something brand new too. So could we just get that needs assessment done to tell us program, services, location, whatever we gotta get, and then work from there? I just
Well
wanna
said,
explain-
thank you.
I just want to explain what a needs assessment will really do for us. And people can be mad, I can be mad when the deal goes down. The data will speak for itself. And that's all I'm asking that we do.
Thank you. Okay. So we will have it at the community center on the 27th so that everybody's a little more comfortable. And
Commissioner, I'm here, I'm sorry. So on the 27th, we're coming to do what? We're gonna have,
we're going to discuss this information and hopefully have a needs assessment if we can get it done fast enough.
In 2 weeks?
Well,
I don't think, would it help you, 90 days? That's what you'd say is a good mark, 90 days.
90 days would be a good mark, but not 2 weeks.
okay. So there still will not be a decision on that night.
see, that's what I'm saying, I
Possibly
mean,
do it within a district this size and the small population that we're talking about, 30 days.
Maybe the city manager
30
could
days.
send us budget numbers, send the entire commission budget numbers on a new building, and then he can decide whether it needs to come back up or not.
Do that.
Out 30 to 90 days.
'Cause my guess is the answer would be no, it doesn't need to come back up again.
yeah, I was about to say. 'cause
But if he were to come and say, hey, the budget's $10 million,
If I don't
maybe that
have to
would
do an
change.
RFQ.
Because that can come out a lot different than just an
Because
estimate.
we'll have to talk Thornton into that this is not tied to a capital project
Right.
over $2 million. Okay.
Okay.
So
I mean, I just want to come back 2 weeks. We got the same 3-hour discussion, and we can't come with a
I
decision.
think you're headed down that road.
And that's what I'm saying.
I think
I would rather
if
get all the
it's-
data we need to make an informed decision. So
I don't want to sit through this 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Listen to the same thing over and over again. That doesn't make any sense.
John?
and
To go back to what I said an hour ago, take it off the table, get all the information we need to go over, and then untable it and go ahead and make a decision.
I think that's fair to Faith World, yes.
All right?
Well, I think if you're headed towards this needs assessment, then I think you need to do the deal or not do the deal on Faith World and not table it because we're going to end up talking about the same things. Next week I can bring you back some little bit of data, or I can spend this 2 weeks starting a needs assessment process. Waiting 2 weeks puts. I won't be able to get this to you in 30 days if I got to wait 2 weeks for you to tell me to do it.
Do it. Anybody else want this needs assessment started?
yeah,
Yes.
yes.
So I hope we're not going to talk about it 2 weeks.
No, but it'll still be being worked.
Well, I was required to step out momentarily, but no, for me, I'm not the guy pushing to kill this so that something better can come along a year and a half from now. So I think that it is fair that our staff could give us enough data to at least let us know which way we wanted to consider going, purchase, or build.
I think
don't
that's what
that-
we've been saying.
That's not what we're saying.
not what they're
No,
saying.
because let me clearly tell you what I can do and what a needs assessment can do. I can sit here and I can budget and make estimates on how much it's going to cost to build a facility and how much it's going to cost to buy a facility and how much it's going to cost to run that facility. A needs assessment is going to tell you with data whether that expense is justifiable. And I don't have the wherewithal on staff to put together a demographic and data analysis that can justify this expenditure. That's the purpose of the needs assessment.
Well, let me just be honest with all of us. Us all be honest here. Every single person that has stood up at that podium, no matter which side they are on, buy or build, has said we need it. So our community has said it. So why would we spend $100,000 to find out if 3 more kids live on this street than that street? Or the bottom line, and I don't care what anybody says if we're just being honest because we're tired. The bottom line is we need it and we're going to do it, and it's going to come down to money. When this board votes at some point, it is going to come down to money. So it's going to come down to, are we spending $700,000, $1 million, $3 million? And are we gonna spend $100 a month, $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month to run it, or zero? That's what it's gonna come down to. That's the bottom line. It's gonna come to one of those two options. We're either gonna staff it, and we're either gonna let somebody else do it, or we're either gonna buy a building of wherever, or we're gonna build a building wherever. So why take 9 months to get all this information when the bottom line is we want it, every person who showed up tonight wants it. Every pastor wants it, every resident wants it, every mother, everybody wants us to build one and has talked how bad we need it and how we have to have specialized staff to run it and to teach them and to train them and to deal with them. And then the only thing we're hearing in here, let's just kill it if we can't do it right. So the bottom line is, for me, I'm not voting for nothing other than I want some information from the city staff, which is unbiased, that I can trust, to come in here and tell me this is what you're potentially looking at if you buy a build. And we know, Elise, you're the queen of this. There's change orders. So we know. But give me an idea. If I build a 10,000 or 15, whatever size building we need, here's what you're approximately looking at. If we all agreed on the gymnasium location, we don't have to buy property. If we can't agree on that location, you got an additional cost on top of that for the property. Here's what you're looking at, your ranges. We can make any offer. We can offer Faith World $200 in the morning if we wanted to. So that's the option. And that's it. Why does it got to be 3 months to come back and figure out potentially which way we want to go when the bottom line is going to be money?
I'm with Commissioner Hurley. I'm sorry, that Al, that's why we pay you big dollars. We don't all have to agree. We're probably not going to all agree. We didn't agree on the community building. Mayor Dennis and I wanted to renovate the old one.
That's right.
Right? But what did we do when the commission 3-2 decided to build a new one? We put a smile on and we supported it, and then we made our input known on what it changes. I don't want the city to run it. If you guys outvote me, I'm going to put a smile on and we're going to try to figure out to run it the best I can. If we decide an outside group to run it, I know that Commissioner Christian is going to figure out how to make that work as best as he can.
That's right.
We all want a teen center.
So would you vote on a new one?
What?
Building a brand new one and let somebody else run it?
Yeah, you would get you'd figure out how to make it work.
All right. Al, can you get with the Boys and Girls Club and see if we can make a partnership?
So I think we just
on a
get the
new
floor and
teen
let's just
center and they run it?
I can do that, and I can have that answer, and I can have a recommendation on where to build it by the 27th.
And then we can compare that to the deal with Faith Lutheran, and let's just decide and let's just get it going.
So I'm clear because I want to be able to vote, John. So me and you are on the same page. Al's going to bring us back what it costs to build a new, and we can decide what we want to offer to buy. Al's going to bring us back what it costs to staff, and Al's going to bring us back what it would cost to partner.
Okay.
Is that where we all are?
No, we're back to what I said a half hour ago.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what Commissioner Hurley and I want. What you said a half an hour ago.
You got 4 options, and I'm going to bring you back what I think it's going to cost on those options, and you're going to vote on that next week.
Yep.
I'm ready to go.
So now needs assessment's out of the window.
Yes.
For me, a needs assessment is we know we need it. It's what type of programming. Like that's different. And then if we partner with Boys and Girls Club, I don't think we need a needs assessment.
I don't think you need a needs assessment.
If we don't partner with the Boys and Girls Club and want to run it ourselves, then you might have me back on, well, we need a needs assessment to know what programming and stuff, because we've never run a teen center before.
Okay. So now, when we talking about, if you bring us back, build new, by use, we're comparing apples to apples. Boys and Girls Club operational, Boys Club operational. So we don't want, we build a new teen center, the Boys and Girls Club doesn't want to work with us, so we got to go it alone. Buy new, the Boys and Girls Club wants to do the operational cost. You understand what I'm saying?
I think so.
Apples to apples.
I'm sure between now and the next meeting.
That's what
I'm bringing you 4 options with what I think the estimated costs are and the pros and cons of each.
Okay.
And on the partnership, I will be using the Boys and Girls Club as the standard bearer. Unless somebody whispers in my ear another organization that would take that on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
All right, are you in agreement with that?
It's apples to apples.
Are you all in agreement with that?
Oh yeah, we're going to be a two-way street.
So does everybody understand the community?
Your direction?
I think so, man.
Mayor Dennis, you might want to explain to everybody what we want to do.
Okay. You've already heard this several times. We're going to have 4 presentations given to us from the city staff as far as 1, purchasing, 2, building, 3, cost of partnering with the Boys and Girls Club or having the city run it.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Both
so we're
programs.
saying the same thing. We're saying purchase and we run it. Purchase and Boys and Girls Club
we're
runs
saying
it.
the same thing.
Build,
That's what
we
we're all
are. I'm
saying.
just making sure we are. I don't want 2 weeks to go by and then we weren't talking the same
We're
language.
saying the exact same thing that you've
Okay,
been saying.
that was important to get out. That was.
Would
All
anybody
right.
like to dismiss us in prayer?
No.
May I make a motion to adjourn?
We have a few more things on the agenda. I'm sorry.
Roll call.
Roll call. Before, any lawyer
I have
issues?
nothing to say.
Regrettably, I've got 2 items. The first is just to tell you that we're within a day or 2 of closing on the Pink House,
Oh, good.
which will ultimately bring that to a close. The second is I can't let Mr. Parker's attack on my opinion go unchallenged.
Okay.
I did not produce this magically from the hat where I keep my rabbit. It was a reasoned opinion, and it's based on the definitions in the statute. Section 3 he cited says, no official, I'm paraphrasing, may vote upon any measure which would inure to his special private gain or loss. Commissioner Hurley is not receiving any remuneration from
Correct.
the church, so he doesn't have a special private gain or loss from this. Or which would inure to the special private gain or loss of any principal by whom he or she is retained. Now, if you look at the definition, that means an individual or entity that for compensation, salary, pay, consideration, or similar thing of value employs that person.
Mhm.
He doesn't get a salary.
That's
He
correct.
doesn't get any compensation. And the Ethics Commission has opined over and over, their opinion 83-70, this provision prohibits a public officer from having certain types of employment and contractual relationships which present him with a conflict of interest. We find this prohibition also to be inapplicable in that case, as non-compensated service as an officer of a nonprofit corporation does not constitute employment or contractual obligation. Again, 82-10, non-compensated service as an officer, member of the board of directors of a nonprofit does not constitute employment. 97-6, a director of a nonprofit organization who serves without compensation is not retained by that corporation. 91-29, vote on funding of a nonprofit corporation would not inure to the person's private gain. Since retention by a principal requires compensation, such a vote would not inure to the special gain of the principal. And there are probably 100 of these. I just picked out those 4 really quickly.
Well, if it means anything, I thought your letter was excellent. It took any doubt off of my mind about
Yeah, I just,
having to step
since
back.
this is going to be on television, and
Yes.
somebody might watch it, I didn't want that to go
No,
unchallenged.
that was an excellent letter. It really was. It took all the doubt out of my mind when I read it.
Thank you.
Okay, city manager items.
Hey, tomorrow's a big day for us. I'll be in Tallahassee at the Public Service Commission. On my ride back, you'll get calls from me. I'll let you know how it goes, and that's in reference to the TICA territorial dispute.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor,
Yes,
may I say something?
please. Just a minute, because otherwise you two can take this offline.
I apologize. Again, my name is Max Parker Jr. What he said is correct, but the problem with this is that HUD did not approve it. And that's part of the federal part of it. HUD did not. It's another step to say if there's a conflict that HUD has to approve it before anything is done.
What's my conflict, Max? Because I go to church there 8
No.
times a year? No, answer the question.
Read what it says.
No, answer the question, though.
Which one?
What is my conflict? Because I attend 8 times a year?
No. Read what it says. It says if it appears, if it's accurate or whatever, it doesn't matter. HUD
does matter.
May I finish?
It
Ask your
does
question.
matter.
May I finish? HUD has to prove that there's no conflict. That have not been done.
Max, you were out of the room, I think, when I addressed this.
Okay.
And I spoke directly about the conflict of interest. I told the group that I brought this up with CDBG, with Allison Thal. She reviewed it. She said we needed a legal opinion. We followed the 7-point step process that you brought to us. Fred wrote that legal opinion. That legal opinion has been provided to CDBG. CDBG says they will take Fred's opinion under advisement. They will make a determination upon my budget narrative modification. The contract also states that the purchase is contingent on CDBG approval. The city's opinion is that there is no conflict. We will pose that to CDBG. CDBG will make a determination on that. And if CDBG determines that there is a conflict, they won't award the grant money, and then we won't close. Okay, so it's all set up.
Okay. Why was none of that part of the supporting documents?
It was in the
It
contract
was in the
itself.
packet, and it was in the contract.
I read the contract.
It
Still
says
wasn't.
it's contingent on HUD approval.
It says, that's number 8 in there?
Yes.
Okay, I read that. And then on the exhibit, it doesn't state that it was done.
But it won't be done until after the contract's signed.
But
That's why you have a contingency allowing the city to get out of it.
Okay, what it said basically, when I read it, as far as the 7 steps, again, the thing says, no matter what.
The contract called for contingency of CDBG. I think in the packets I put in the email and the correspondence from HUD, from Allison, from local CDBG. She required 4 or 5 things. Of those was the conflict. All that will get submitted to CDBG if we make the purchase. They'll determine whether or not we have a conflict. They'll determine whether or not we shift the money or not. And if they don't, then we don't do the deal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep it zipped.
Commissioner Peterson.
Nothing tonight.
I can feel your frustration.
Commissioner Roebuck.
Nothing.
Commissioner Hurley.
I'm done.
Commissioner Christian.
You guys got a good lesson on civics from the city of Leesburg. All of our meetings are not like this. They're not this long. Mayor Dennison, I guess, wanted to keep us here for a long time tonight and missed the game. So I do thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts. A lot of times it's very difficult to get on the microphone, but I think that's what makes our city a great city, that you can share your thoughts. And sometimes we actually do disagree. But at the end of the day, we want what's best for Leesburg. As we look at our options, you know, I'm still a firm believer that if we can build something very nice in our city, we should do it. Especially if we can find the money and we can get someone to pay the operational costs. But I think we need to make sure that we hold any organization, hold our city staff responsible to make sure that all the needs of our city are met, and that we do operate with a very nice budget. But we did tuck $20 million aside. We saved money. We sold our fiber optic system. We put money aside. And we should not get to this point and shortchange a segment of our community. Whether it's buying a building, whether it's building a new building, we must make sure we do the best for Leesburg. I'm proud of our Venetian Center. I'm proud of our Resource Center. I'm proud of our gymnasium. And I want to be proud of our teen center, that we are building a state-of-the-art facility for the next 30 years. We can ride by and be something that we're proud. And I hope you realize by you coming tonight cause a decision, whether it's buy or build, your presence here tonight made a big difference. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mayor Dennis.
I would like to thank you also all for coming, okay? We argue among ourselves and whatnot, but in the end, as Commissioner Christian said, we're here to make this a better place to live for everybody. So there's no division being driven down or anything else. We want to work and make this a better place, okay? Also, gentlemen, I put on your desk a Florida League of Cities summary for everything that's being discussed this year in Tallahassee. Okay. I made a note up here. Anywhere you see preemption means that it's a mandate, and it could be an unfunded mandate sticking us with the bills. So just for your information. All right? Thank you. Motion to leave.